Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host, and joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how you doing, pal?
I mean, judging by my relaxed state right now, I'd say I'm doing pretty darn good. How about yourself?
I'm just peachy, as I said before we even started today. I feel like I use that term incorrectly because I say it kind of glibly. I think the real way to use it is to be like, I'm peachy keen. It's like an old-timey phrase. I need to use something better.
You said peachy tonight when we first connected here, and you said it in a semi-sarcastic tone.
I always do. I don't know why. I should be more honest with people. I should be like, I'm okay. But no, because we're doing a podcast about freaking Walt Disney World, I'm better than that because it's like the one thing I feel like I have any like a leg up of expertise on than most people. Like it's the one thing that like out of most of the people I know, I feel like I'm the most well versed in. Like with games and movies and stuff, you get kind of people from all over. But with like this, like it's specific, you know what I mean? Like it's like this stuff, and I know it. I've lived it, I've breathed it, and now you have lived and breathed it as well. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about your experience, because I kind of talked about it last week with Katie. I want to talk about like the stuff you loved, the stuff you didn't love, your experience overall, your favorite things, your least favorite things. And I figure we kind of do it the same way I did it with Katie, where we kind of go through rides, the food, and the hotel. But let's start with the most like easy of them all. Let's talk about the hotel a little bit. Pop Century. You stayed there. I stayed there. What did you think?
Yeah, middle of the road resort, right?
Actually, low end.
Low end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Low end.
Saving us money.
Yeah, but their low end is not. It's not like your side of the road motel or your Red Roof Inn.
No.
It's very nice, themed. One thing that we did right here was we picked one of those resorts that was recently remodeled. Smart move, right?
Yes.
Smart move.
Thank you.
Because these were nice. They, as you would expect with Disney, I mean, they want you to have a good experience, whether you're spending a lot of money or on your stay or not. All financial.
Yes.
All callers get the treatment here.
I see. I understand what you mean.
Right? You know what I mean? Blue collar, white collar,
yes.
All those. And I mean, even somebody that's somewhat well off, if you want to do this on a budget, there's nothing wrong with this place. It's nice, clean. Despite these these resorts like Pop Century, they have exterior entries to your rooms, so there's no hallway or nothing. It's all balcony entry or patio entry, which is fine. It works real well. Everything works off your watch too. You don't have to worry about key card or keys or any of that BS. Wow, it's only been a week and I'm forgetting terms for stuff.
The magic bands.
Magic it is, let me tell you. It helped me spend a lot of money, and it helped me get into places I never thought I'd go. It was nice. That's how you get into your room, so you never lose a key or anything like that. It's real slick. Upon entry, you look at it. There's a stowaway bed and a cabinet type of deal, one of those fold downs. But it's a full queen bed.
Yeah.
Like, it was legit, and the lighting and everything is nice. The bathrooms, I was actually really surprised. I thought the bathrooms wouldn't be as nice as they were, but they were up to date, modern, clean. I don't think there's a thing to say about it that's a complaint or a bad. It was all good. And, credit to you. You did a lot of this planning and helping with the booking and all that. And you made special requests. And the surprising thing is that they fall through on every one of them. Or that's not the right word. They follow through.
They followed through. Yeah, they followed through.
Yeah. I mean, we got our connecting rooms, which worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is even though we had connecting rooms, we didn't spend a lot of time like hanging out or like sitting around discussing things in each other's rooms. It was like, all right, I'll go to bed.
Well, okay, so there's one day where I did, but I came over and Haley was on her phone, you were on your phone, and I was watching like 47 Ronin, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap. So I was like,
Is that what that was with
yeah,
Keanu Reeves?
yeah,
No, I was watching it too, and we were talking about it a little bit. I just think it wasn't what's the word? Um, uh,
captivating.
correct, accurate enough, like Japanese culture. It kind of was, but not. Yeah, I don't know. Anywho, I thought it was pretty neat actually. I think I didn't finish it because we had to get going, but it was good. Either way, yeah. You kind of your days out when you're out and about. You get a chance for one of those little 1 hour nap or lay down situations. You got to take advantage, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That'd be fresh for the evening PM hours.
I know. Well, it's also especially for the uninitiated. It's good to do that, I think, too, because it's a lot more grueling, I think, than you kind of go into it and you knew that there's gonna be a lot of walking. Was there as much like physical labor as you thought? More so, less than that? How did you feel?
I mean, I'm no dummy. I knew what it was going to be like. I knew we were going to be walking a lot, and I know these parks are large, and they were as expected. Did I think my dogs would bark as hard as they did? And for those of you who don't understand that slang, kind of old man terminology, my feet were sore. By the end of the day, it was like, get me on that bus and somebody carry me to my room. Stand up in the morning, you fall back over. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of walking. I think we did math one day that Katie arrived, your sister, and she had a counter or a distance tracker, and I think we did the math, and it came out to like over 20,000, 21,000, or 11 miles, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 10 or 11 miles that day.
Yeah, which is pretty good, and not to mention a lot of it, you're not really walking per se, but you're just on your feet.
Yeah.
Like, there's times where you're standing for a half hour, 45 minutes too. So, it takes its toll, but as long as the rest of your body can hang, you're good. Just tolerate the foot soreness, right?
That's true.
But yeah, I think, still, even if I was seasoned, I'm not going to enjoy it as much if I'm out there just freaking dragging ass and just kind of going through the motion. Like, I want to be energized enough to really soak it in and experience it and be alert enough to remember the details and see the details, you know what I mean? So in the way you plan things, we didn't really miss much. Some of the smaller things maybe, less significant things, but as far as the reasons to be there, we got to do it. So, and we really didn't rest that much. I mean, it was only one day, and then I think Friday, Hales and I took a 2-hour break. But other than that,
you guys slept in. I guess the difference is like sleeping into. That's another portion of it. Like there were 2 other mornings that Katie and I got up at like 4:45, and you guys maybe stayed and slept to like 7, 8, 9ish or so, which helps too.
We still got to the park at just after rope drop, like say 8:30, 8:15. But we'll get to the reason why you guys were up at 5 a.m. later. But I'm sure most people with any rudimentary knowledge would figure out why.
Muppet Vision 3D.
Exactly.
Yep, had to get there right away.
Hint, poster behind Jimmy. Anywho. Yeah, I think we managed it well. I don't think we were much of a burden on you until the very last day. Am I right?
Much of a burden, not a burden at all. Just between you guys and me. Oh my gosh. No, if I could have picked them both up with my own physicality, I would have. But then again, I am seasoned. I'm used to this stuff. I'm used to my feet really hurting, but I'm just like, I power through it. It's not that like, and Joe makes a good point. You want to be refreshed. You want to be able to enjoy it. But I guess for me, a lot of it comes down to time and money. And depending where that's going to fall for you, and everybody who's going to tour and travel is going to be different. Like we went with a smaller group of adults, so we can be really kind of liberal with how we decide, things. If you go with kids and stuff, that's a whole different other ball game. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And I saw people there with, like, I'm not kidding, everybody, like newborns, like just a few weeks old. I'm like, why would you, like, when we got on the bus to get from the airport to the resorts, Joe, remember that mom was there with I think she had a couple kids, but she had one that was like a newborn, and she was like trying to bounce it to make sure it wouldn't cry, and like she looked like
And
she
it
was
started crying more because she was bouncing it, and
gosh,
she's
I was like,
like
why?
sweating, and it's only
Why?
72 degrees, and she's sweating, and she's changing the diaper right on the seat in front of us. I'm like, okay, I don't know where you come from, but maybe, yeah.
But anyway, but besides the walking and the resting, I think the next kind of step up, as far as like fun things to talk about, was our eating situations, because we had a few sit downs, we had a few like quick service type things. Maybe for just like, I don't know, just kind of talk about maybe your favorites, or like which
We're
ones.
starting with the quick service. We're gonna categorize this
All
thing.
right, there you go.
Quick service and reserve dining. And next time I go, let's just say this: the food and everything is so freaking great. It's worth splurging on. Plus, the service is there too, which in this day and age, waiting tables and working in a restaurant is not a very sought after job for anybody, apparently. So you go out to eat in your hometown, whatnot, unless you're going to that ritzy place, and even then sometimes it's questionable. You're not going to get that service that you're used to, like back in the day where you had, somebody that was real dedicated to the job, even though, it wasn't looked down upon as much, where, now millennials and stuff, I'm not going to work as a waitress or a waiter. What the hell?
Yeah.
But here it's treated differently, and it is a big deal. And I don't think we have one bad service experience at all, even beyond just the restaurants. But that's one thing that's top notch there. And whether it's quick service or fine dining, reservation style, the food is worth the money, I think.
Sure. And you said the next time you go down, were you going to say you'd book more things, or?
Yeah, just for the sheer fact that was a really enjoyable part of the trip, the reserved eating, dining. I would probably, maybe one day I wouldn't do it, but I would probably, if I was there for a week, I'm going to do four nights, maybe even 5 if I think I can get by with it.
Yeah,
but
it's 2 hours off your feet too, which is nice.
Well, that's true too, but it's also, you're still getting an experience.
Oh,
right?
Sure, yeah.
So it's worth those 2 hours off your feet. You're still absorbing the everything, and it's part of Disney, and it's worth your time there. So, I guess that kind of summarizes the eating. But let's break it down a little bit. Get into the quick service. First day we're there, Animal Kingdom. And I forget, what were we doing for breakfast? I think that day I had granola bars.
Yeah, we didn't do.
We really kind of fasted a little bit.
I skip breakfast usually, so I always forget that. Usually, for the most part, but
yeah, and I'm not a big breakfast guy anyway. But a little coffee, I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think we did pretty much every day except for 1 or 2. But and they had coffee in the room and stuff, which is nice. Otherwise, Haley wouldn't have made it. But. Yeah, first day, I think we wanted to figure out the mobile ordering right away. That's something somewhat new that they do that's really convenient, makes it quicker, and helps them get through not only the service line, but the mobile service line. It's 2 feeds in and out, and it makes things run a little faster and more efficient for them and for the customer. So, but it was important that we figured that out. We tried it out. We did... can you recall the name, Jimmy? Is a barbecue joint.
Flame Tree Barbecue. I forgot that we went there, but it was freaking delicious.
Yeah, day 1, and it was really good. I think in some of the eats that they had, it was convenient stuff for quick service that you could put on a tray and go with you. And, like they had like a pulled pork mac and cheese type of thing. They had pulled pork and cheese fries, and they had, that day I was trying to still eat somewhat healthy, knowing I was going to be dining out at some of these, lavish places. I want to stick to it a little bit. And I got a salad with like a barbecue chicken on top and a neat dressing, and a quick service joint. And it was great. It was really good. And I got a side of the pulled pork chili cheese fries, and they're just normal fries, but the toppings help it, and it's enjoyable. It's good food to keep you going for the day. You're gonna burn those calories, which I didn't realize. It's funny, as I was down there speaking back to the walking and then now the dining, combine those two. I was really reserved about splurging too much on what I ate because I'm trying to watch the physique and whatnot. But and Jimmy convinced me. I gave up eventually, but
you gave up the first night.
Pretty much, because there's nothing. Like everything has a carb in it. You know what I'm saying? But the funny thing is, I actually lost weight while I was down there because I burned all those calories walking, standing, moving, which is great. I mean, and I was able to enjoy the full experience of Disney that way. So, but yeah, that was our first experience there. I'll kind of run through them and we'll rate them at the end. But sure. I think the next one we did was that night because we didn't have a reserved dining that evening.
That's correct. We did 2 quick services that day.
Yeah, and we went to the Columbia House in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, the Harbor House.
Yeah, and to kind of give you a synopsis of what it is, the barbecue joint was like you went and got your tray at the front service area, and you walk back out, and they had this really cool patio dining down by the lake that's in Animal Kingdom, and the storks and stuff are trying to eat your food.
Yep.
But it's kind of cool, you get to watch them, and you got the water and umbrellas and nice seating. You're in the landscaping, and it's like you're in a beautiful park, and that was great. So, but then jumping the Columbia House that evening, it was actually pretty late. I want to say it was like 8:30.
Yeah, about.
I think they were open till 9. Maybe a hair earlier, but the aura of this place, or the theme, is New England style, like Maine on the coast, and the food didn't necessarily. It kind of went with that theme. I mean, you could get a lot of shrimp type stuff and fish, and so I'm like, what really sounds good? I'm gonna be a kid again. I'm gonna get chicken tenders and fries, but hold on, I'm gonna add in the fish. The fish fry and the fried shrimp because they had like the sampler platter dinner. It was a similar cost, as like $2 more, but you got like a heap and pile of food. It was all fried, of course, but who cared at that point? And it was good. It's your typical fried food, but it was tasty. It was what you needed and filled the belly, kind of a thing. And I enjoyed it. But the main thing about that place that I really liked. And by the way, it was fish, and the fish was good.
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised. I know it wasn't anything special. It's not like they're hand breading it and dipping it and whatnot, but it was just good. The quality was there on all of it. And but the theming of this place is really cool. They have a whole upstairs dining, and it's really large. I was actually surprised from the outside. You don't really realize how big it is. But it was so late that not many people were eating, so we went upstairs, had our own table by a window overlooking the roadway and stuff, and it was cool. As you're looking around, you're just kind of like, man, I kind of want to take a trip to New England or Maine.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, I get you.
But that's just a testament to like the way they theme everything in these parks is top notch. They really go all out, and it's no joke. And which is one of the main staples of Disney, the theming. You feel like you're in these places. It's immersive that way. Movie set quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was number 2. Which other ones did we do, Jimmy? After that, I'm drawing a slight bit of a blank. I know we did do like the cafeteria dining at a resort, which was fine.
Yeah, we did that kind of twice-ish. But that was mostly...
Food wasn't that bad there either.
It was fine, yeah. It was a bit cheaper, so I wasn't surprised that that's what it was. As far as quick service goes, though, I want to say that's almost all of it.
Yeah, I think later down the road we might have done... Oh, we did
Casey's.
Casey's hot dogs.
Yes,
the last
right,
day.
Cassie's.
Casey's.
I
wouldn't have gone if it was Cassie's.
Cassie's is right down the street. It's different. It's vegan.
Yeah.
All of it's vegan. Which is just hot dogs. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I got myself because I had to get it. Like I haven't had a hot dog in I don't know how long, and these are like big beef franks, you know.
Yeah.
They had a normal one, and then they had the big old foot long. And I tell you, when I say foot long, that was like a reserved statement. It was more like a 14-inch-ish freaking hot dog on a bun, and I loaded mine with all the garbage. I had jalapenos, relish, and mustard on there, and oh yeah, that hit the spot, baby. Um, and on the ride we did after that, I puked furiously.
No, no, you didn't.
I did not. If it would have been Pandora, the flight of passage,
Oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh.
probably would have. You would have seen 14 inches of hot dog come flying up the screen.
A stunning endorsement for Casey's.
No, it was good. I mean, a hot dog's a hot dog, but I mean, as far as hot dogs go, this wasn't something you get out of a package
Yeah,
and put on in the microwave. You know, these are very tasty, and worth it. I mean, it kind of hits the spot, right?
sure.
I don't want to call it comfort food, but in a certain way, it gets the job done,
Yeah.
and it's good. Um, yeah, there was that. There was something else we did too. I can't jog my memory. There's something else we did that was quick service.
Um.
Can't recall.
Well, when we go through the food stuff, it'll pop up if we recall.
It might. That just means it probably wasn't mentionable or worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess let's jump to our more fine dining outings where you have to make reservations ahead of time. Luckily, I think for some of them, we even changed our reservation time or we got in early just because it wasn't maybe quite as packed as it could have been. You know, that was one thing we kind of went during a nice time of the year where it's not too busy yet. You know, it's not ramping up going into like spring break and it's not busy from the holidays. So it's a good in between. Um, except for that last day, Friday. Apparently, everybody says, "Hey, the Pro Bowl's in Florida. Let's go to Disney and then the Pro Bowl." Like,
it was a stupid Pro Bowl.
yeah, who wants to go to a Pro Bowl? They hug each other. They don't even tackle. Um,
that too. How dare they?
yeah. God, talk about a chunk of money to spend. I bet. But
Yeah, I bet.
yeah. But anyway, so our fine dining, Jimmy. Thank you to you. You're the one who made these reservations, and thank God you really you did a great job. And
Thank you.
I'll pinpoint a reason as to why in a minute. But so let's start off with our first reserved seating fine dining experience.
Yeah.
I think you'll get a kick out of this one, won't you?
If it's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so Epcot, I forget what time our reservation was. Doesn't matter. It was a little later, but we ended up going to. Go ahead.
What are you talking about? The one in the afternoon or the one at night? Because we did two that day. Do you remember?
Lay it on me.
It had to do with bread, and you got poutine.
Yeah, I forgot that we snuck that one in there. That was
Yeah.
the last minute one that Katie wanted to do.
So I figured we talk
So
about before you get to
Yeah.
the one that I definitely got a kick out of. But
Yeah, but I'm going in order. Timeline. Yeah, Le Cellier.
yeah,
Canadian, French Canadian. What would normally be like ultra fine dining, like you better have like a button shirt on, maybe even a sport jacket. That's the one thing that's nice about the parks. They expect that nobody's gonna come wearing a suit unless you're at like it's a restaurant at your resort. But here it's like they know you're out and about. You're at the parks. They expect that you're gonna be in like jeans, sneakers, and a t-shirt kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice that they don't like frown upon that and they let that fly. I mean, how could they not? Plus, there's families coming in there. And with kids, it's tough.
Yeah.
But anywho, so we stopped there for lunch, and boy, what a filling lunch it was. Jimmy, of course, had to have his filet.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. You gave me a little bite of that, and that sucker melted in the mouth. You did not need a sharp knife to cut it. I think a butter knife would have done the job. So, you got that. I think your sister just got a bowl of soup. Haley got, I
Soup.
think, the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which looked pretty good. Me, of course, I'm like, this is French Canadian. I'm getting something that goes along with the theme here. I went along and I got lobster poutine, lobster bisque poutine.
And Joe, they use the whole lobster on this thing.
Yeah, the waitress when I ordered, she looked at me. She's like, "You like lobster, right?" I'm like, uh, "Does anyone not like lobster?" I'm allergic to shellfish, but I love it. That's what
Exactly.
she
Yeah.
said.
Please.
Um, and then she's like, "Well, I'm just saying because they use the whole lobster, like head and everything." I'm like, or no, she didn't say head, but she said the whole lobster, and I'm like, what does that mean? Is this thing gonna come out with a freaking lobster head standing on top like a cherry? Um, and I'm like, whatever. More lobster sounds great to me. It keeps getting better, I said. And she's like, okay. And goes back. We get our food, and I covered what you and the girls had. Somewhat straightforward, but I want to talk about mine just a little bit because it was a little
Please.
one-off, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody has had poutine before, but obviously there's a gravy, there's cheese curds, and whatever type of like protein they put in there. A lot of times it's like shredded beef or beef, and I think that's the typical way. But it's all over fries, and I was skeptical. I'm like, this is a little weird, but whatever. And I didn't get the beef. I think going back, I would get the beef. Just because it's a little more normal.
Sure.
The seafood, the lobster it's got a different taste to it, and you have to like seafood to enjoy it, but it doesn't necessarily go along with fries and gravy very well. Um, but yeah, I mowed down on it, and believe it or not, it was a small bowl. It wasn't very big. It was kind of deep, but it didn't look like a monstrous portion. But it was crazy how like halfway through, I'm like, oh man, one more bite, you know. But definitely strong seafood flavor. I like lobster, so it didn't bug me. I don't think it was the greatest combination. Like I said, I would have gotten the beef next time, but it was an experience. It was pretty tasty, worth the money, I think. Yeah, because it was freaking lobster, but it was good. It was worth trying. I'd probably try it again. And yeah, I just thought it was the most interesting thing on the menu. But the ambiance and stuff in there, I mean, it's very French Canadian. Le Cellier is a very uh, deserved name. You're kind of you feel like it's a sunken space, and it's got a lot of the wood beams everywhere, mirrors on the wall, chandelier type stuff, and it has that ambiance that fits the name. And the theme was there for the most part, but I don't really know what French Canadian's supposed to look like overall,
Sure.
But it was nice. It was fun. It was a good experience. So yeah, I guess that was our lunch, and then that evening we had another reservation that Jimmy had to have, and I was like, I'm all for it. Sounds like a crazy cool experience, right? And I was all in it for the experience. I didn't know what I was gonna think of the food.
You and Haley looked like I had punched you both in the gut when I showed you the menu the first time. I was like, I really want to go here or the Canadian place, Le Cellier. And you're both like, is there another option? And I was like,
well, Le Cellier, we were looking, and Le Cellier was very expensive, and I was kind of looking at it like, geez, I can afford it, but do I want to afford it? Because, like I like a filet, but I'm not that gung ho about it to where I want. Some of that stuff was very expensive, and it wasn't exotic enough for me to wanna really go all out on it. You know what I mean? And I when we looked at it originally, I didn't see the poutine, but that worked out real well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were all about checking out the Japanese quarter over in the World and Epcot and the what do you call the World Tour deal?
World Showcase.
World Showcase, and a showcase it was. We went to Takumi Te, the Japanese eatery. I would call it fine dining, very Japanese style. You don't have to sit down on a padded pillow, legs crossed, traditionally. But They have different dining areas, and they're all named after elements and whatnot. They have paper, earth, fire, water,
It was
or
wood,
air,
not fire, I think.
wood. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. It was more, yeah,
Except it would
ground.
have been the fire room for sure, because it's lit. Ah.
Yeah, but we got the paper room, which was very nice. It was a little later in the evening, so it wasn't as busy. Um, and plus, I don't think a lot of families are going to try this place. This is a little more like, an adult couple or an adult group that likes that sort of experience. And I went into it with an open mind, and boy, I was a little more reserved at this one and a little more, I don't want to say high strung, but I was a little more alert and kind of like trying to be prim and proper because you had to be focused. It is insanely authentic. The menu and the experience. The staff, they are all Japanese, probably doing a college program type of deal there. For quite a few, I noticed we had our waitress, but their name of our waitress, Jimmy.
Oh, do you mean
Ayumi.
Ayumi? Can you see it? Can you?
Yeah,
She wrote her name here. You can see it right over there by my palm. Ayumi.
Yeah.
Ayumi.
At the end of it, she gave us those origami hearts, thanking us for
Oh,
coming in and all that. It was really cool, which really topped off the experience. Shows they're
oh.
appreciative and they enjoyed it as much as we
I
did.
didn't
Almost
try the
kind of thing.
candy. Did you try the candy they gave us?
I haven't yet. Hales has
Oh
it
man,
somewhere.
I haven't tried it. Sounds good.
We'll have to try that together some night.
Katie's
Save,
got it, I
save.
think. She's hoarding it.
Oh, shame on her. Anywho,
I'll find her.
there is. I wouldn't say there's a language barrier. They all speak English, but of course, it's not always. Sometimes they struggle to find a word, and it's kind of fun to kind of converse with them and
Yeah.
and try and communicate and talk about things a little bit. And they're all for it, and they enjoy it. And Jimmy, of course, knew some phrases in Japanese, and that kind of piqued her interest. She's like, "Why do you know Japanese?"
Yeah.
And you were all about it. You're great. You got her to kind of open up a little bit, I think, even. And and yeah, we didn't do the full. There's like one package where it's like $130, but the chef prepares a custom meal for you,
Ugh.
and it's like a 9-course deal.
Ugh.
And they do a tea ceremony with you at the beginning, which we saw a couple in our room do that tea ceremony. It's really cool. They bring that out, they whisk the tea, they pour it, and they drink it a certain way, and that's really cool. But wasn't in the mood for tea with my meal. Anywho,
Understand.
but yeah, then you can see on the menu, it's followed by a range of courses, and it's not listed as to what it'll be because it literally is the chef picking out a meal for you and surprising you, which is really cool. Um, but yeah, so we all ordered. Jimmy's main reason for going there. Take a guess, people. Wagyu beef.
That's my trigger word. Oh my gosh.
Where's the Wagyu? Did
Where
you
is
say
it?
Wagyu? For those who don't know Wagyu beef, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, Jimmy, Wagyu beef is it's a cow that's raised a particular way in order for the meat to not be as lean. It actually has perfect marbling, and which makes the meat very tender and extremely edible. Um, and like I think a good way to describe it is this cow was growing up. It was massaged every night, and they'd play music for it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I won't get into the cost. I don't need to talk about that. It is pricey.
Yeah.
Worth the cost. Worth the cost.
Worth every penny.
um, the portion size it came with what some it came with some special truffles.
Oh, actually, for mine it came with some like greens, but it came with some small potatoes and small mushrooms, and
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because I didn't really that wasn't really what I was looking to get, but it was a nice little like accoutrement or garnish-ish type
Yeah, and they
situation.
spread it with like a cilantro
Yeah, or
braise or something like that.
something. Yeah,
So it's actually very artistic
very much
the
so.
way they present things on a plate. They're showing is exceptional. Because yours, it's almost artistic the way they'd spread that and place the mushrooms and the greens and the potatoes. But yeah, the Wagyu beef. Think of a dollar bill in about the same shape, a little more rounded corners, and a little smaller. Stack of thin fillets of beef, and
That is an interesting way to describe that. I would never.
because I want people to understand the size of it and
Sure.
relate it. And but yeah, I think
I
that's the best way to
guess.
describe it. A little smaller than a dollar bill, and just a stack of thin
Yeah,
layers of beef.
I suppose.
And when I say thin, I'd probably say, uh, what would you say? Maybe like 2 or 3 coins stacked together. I
Maybe.
don't know
Yeah.
why I'm relating it to money. Maybe
Yeah, it's
because
okay.
but
I
yeah,
like it.
and you can tell just by looking at it when it came out, it does have that perfect marbling. It's got a little bit of a sear to the outside layer, um, but cooked perfectly. It's not too rare, not too done. And yeah, I guess the rest of us, the girls, they got sushi. It was basically rice balls with sushimi on top, and they have wasabi and some sort of ginger dip. And then let's see, I got rolls, and you say, "Wow, Joe, how lame!" Right? Well, no, this is the most legitimate sushi I think you can get, unless you're maybe in like Seattle on the water or somewhere that's pretty known for sushi.
Like in Japan.
Yeah, this is truly Japanese, and my rolls they were tuna, yellowtail, and there's something else in there. But then I had a little bit of asparagus, of course, rice, the kelp wrap, and then there's another item in there, and I can't recall. But I'm not a big sushi guy at all, but I loved it, and something that really enhanced it, the wasabi there. You've probably been somewhere where you've had wasabi and also the paper thin ginger slices. You probably had wasabi at one point or another. But when I say this is a wasabi, this is like you take a dollop about the size of a thin spread any bigger than the pinky nail is too much. Like your eyes are watering and your nose is running. But I loved it. The flavor that it gave, like I almost wanted to eat it plain, although I knew I couldn't. But I used all of it. They give you like probably a nickel size ball of it, and it's actually a sphere. And I was taking that. I'd make sure to spread that on each roll, just a little bit in the center. Give myself a sliver of ginger on there. I mean, you can't really bite into a roll. They tend to, you just ruin it. They start to fall apart. I just boom, one whole roll in the mouth. I think I had 6 or 7 of them. Actually, maybe 8. Anywho, delectable,
Yeah.
amazing. I'm not a big sushi guy, but I would eat that 10 times in a row. I love them. I almost wanted another plate, but
What did you drink?
I had. Oh, I can't even name it. It was something with like coconut, pineapple, and some sort of like a soda cocktail deal. It was virgin. It didn't have any alcohol. I didn't really. I think I did. I even drink on this trip at all? I don't think I did.
We
I don't
tried to
think
get
I.
you to.
Yeah, I don't think I had any alcohol while I was down there. I didn't want to risk. Oh, I did have a glass of wine at one point.
Oh yes, you did.
We'll get to that, but overall, I didn't want to ruin. I didn't want to get sick, get a migraine or something. And alcohol tends to do that to me sometimes, especially liquor. But yeah, so that was really tasty. You got a. Let me see if I can recall a blood orange something. It was in a fluted champagne
Yeah,
glass
it was a
with some
spritzer.
sort of spritzer.
Uh-huh.
And I had a taste of yours. It was really delicious. It was a lot stronger and more potent. Mine was very smooth and just freaking tasty.
I should have stirred mine
Our,
up more. The syrup pooled at the bottom, so my last few sips were like perfect. I was like,
yeah, like Jimmy's pupils were dilated. He was looking for the next ride, but
yeah.
uh, yeah, those are good, and yeah, I splurged. I'm sure a lot of sugar, but it was tasty. Ooh, so tasty.
Yeah.
Uh, and here are the girls across from us drinking water, losers.
Yeah.
uh,
Big mistake.
but yeah, between the drinks and the food, it was amazing. I did try one of Haley's sushi meatballs, and it was excellent as
Yeah,
well.
they were really good.
And I mean, there's not much to it, but there's something about it. It's just right, and I don't think sushi will ever be the same for me.
The world will never be the same for me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I did have a sliver of your Wagyu. We all did. Thank you very much for that.
You guys like all looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, I want you guys to experience this with me because I'm
Well,
sitting
we were
over
getting
here.
mad because you spend the money on it. You're supposed to enjoy it.
I know, but like
it.
that's what you do is if you have something, you share it so other people can enjoy it. And I was like tearing up, and I wanted other people to like at least get a taste for like what the reason was. It's not just like, well, this guy, he's just losing it because he's like, he's such a weeaboo, and he's like sitting and he's like he wants to be Japanese. He's saying all these words. He's got some beef here, but it's like, oh
No,
god.
Okay, all right. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me highlight this and describe why your reaction was what it was. I like food, clearly, but when Jimmy says he was tearing up and like reacting to this in a way not many people would to food, and when I took my bite of my sliver and I started to chew and it started to just almost dissolve in my mouth. I looked. The girls hadn't eaten theirs yet, and I kind of looked at them, and my eyes started to water too. And there was no wasabi on this. I was like, that is that was enlightening.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I started to tear up a bit myself. I was like, geez, well, Pete.
That was Katie with the cheesecake.
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. But this Wagyu, it had, and chime in as you feel you need to, but because you ate it all, but it had just the lightest bit of crustiness isn't the word, but just a slight sear on the outside that just made that outer edge a little crusty. But then, and crusty's a bad word, dang it. Friable or just a little crispiness on the outside, but you get into it and then the center meat cut is just like, mwah, like, oh, like if you used a knife on this, they'd probably, you go straight to hell. It was otherworldly. I don't think I'll ever experience that again unless I go back. But yeah, anything to add, Jay?
It was charred to perfection, like the perimeter of a caldera on a volcano formed by whatever deity that you like the most. It was. I'm gonna do like a full review, Joe. I didn't tell you this, but I'm doing 2 actual review videos for Disney.
Yeah,
one's on this, and one's on Rise of the Resistance. I will spend 5 minutes talking about this Wagyu. No, I won't. But Joe's right. So basically, what I ended up doing is taking there's maybe like 8 slices or so of it, and I took each piece. After the first one, I took like the whole thing, which my sister was like, why are you doing that? I was like, I just wanted to see what it was like. But then I took each subsequent piece and cut it into thirds, and I gave each of them like a third of a slice, and then I kept doing that with each of mine. So I took the longest, which I normally always do, but I felt like I needed to because each one, even as it got colder, it didn't matter. It was just, and there was like on the crispiness, there was like a salt to it too, or something on the plate. Oh my gosh, it was just, it was the greatest beef I've ever had in my life, and I know it to be true. Like, I think back on the beef I've eaten, and like this was, yeah, it was. And I'm glad that you got to try it, so that way you knew that I wasn't like just like losing my mind over here. And the sushi, which I don't like sushi, That was amazing too. I could have destroyed 30 of those. Like you said, the ladies had 10 of them. I could have annihilated that stuff. I would have been like thump 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 thump. Like apparently they were built that way so that way the geishas could eat it so that way they wouldn't mess up their makeup or something. That's what they were telling us. I was like,
Yeah, they were like little bite-sized balls, and
yeah, you could annihilate a bunch of those. But yeah, that Wagyu, man.
yeah, it was something else. So let's get to the dessert. Katie got cheesecake dessert to share. It was like cheesecake on, I don't even know what it was.
It had like an ice cream with it too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It had like a traditional Japanese ice cream kind of on the
It
top.
was like a tower. The cheesecake was like a tower.
Yeah, and I don't want to say there was graham cracker crust at the bottom,
I don't know what it
but
was.
there was some sort of crumbly crust at the bottom that
Yeah.
was unbelievable. It wasn't graham cracker, but that's what it reminds you of
The
in the
consistency.
texture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, she wasn't going to eat it all and intended to share it all. So we were all kind of taking a fork and digging into every bit of everything that was there. Haley got a kind of a coffee, graham cracker, marshmallowy, like it was in a little rectangle bar of it, and it had like a honey glazed spread to the one side and then a caramely one on the other side, a little bit of chocolate, and a few bites of that. It was like that, like chocolate, like a little bit of espresso flair to it, but very subtle. And then you dip it in that honey, and it was like just like, it was good. Not a huge portion size, but it was delectable, and not overly sweet either. Their stuff wasn't overly like, you weren't getting diabetes 10 minutes afterward. But the cheesecake, let me tell you, that was pretty addicting. It was different than American cheesecake. It's maybe a little more potent in its flavor, I feel like.
I felt like it was thicker too. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it had a slightly different consistency.
Yeah.
It wasn't as dry. I think that's what I feel like it was. It wasn't as dry. It was a little more moussey. I don't know if thicker is the word. I think ours is maybe a little more dense. Theirs is just a little more moist, flavorful, and yeah, but I think it was right. Like I really enjoyed it. The ice cream on top, there was some sort of drizzle of something. Was there chocolate involved?
Not that I recall, but I don't know.
I can't either. Either way, if you were to scrape down one side, get the ice cream, the cheesecake, and whatever was at the bottom all at once and get a bite of that, it was like a freaking explosion of fireworks in your mouth. Ugh, without the burning. That was, of the desserts we had there, that was easily my favorite by far. I don't think we had a lot of desserts. I mean, we had a lot of treats in the parks, but those are like your typical like park style treats, and some more crazy than others, but still nothing over the top fancy about them. But yeah, that was an experience. And getting back to not just the food, but the actual experience itself, the wait staff being so friendly. They took you on a tour around the place to see the other rooms and things. She took a photo with us and everything. The manager even made it a point to talk with us, and he was extremely nice. Just top notch, man. You walk out of there feeling like you didn't waste a damn penny.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably would have thrown another 20 at the door just because I felt good about it.
I felt like I was in my element there. Felt like
home. And I will say the tip, it wasn't no 20%. So
it was 10. Good. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think people can realize it was the opposite. And it was worth it. When somebody treats your dining experience as almost an art form and really wants you to sit down, take your time, and enjoy the entire experience, even beyond the food, it makes you feel like it was well worth it.
Sure.
It totally was. They weren't trying to push you out to open up the table. Granted, we were there at the right time, but it was very proper. It was very, the politeness wouldn't you say that's just off the charts?
Well,
Cultural
yeah.
thing a little bit, but the experience across the board at all the places we went was kind of like that. Very polite. The service is just good.
I was gonna say I think the thing that you're kind of touching on here, and I wanted you to bring up too, is I think after this place it kind of ruins you everywhere else because the service it's just not this to the same level. Because every time Ayumi would leave and come back, if it was like 45 seconds or a minute, 2 minutes, she would say, "I appreciate your patience," and you're like, "I didn't even know that you left." Like, and she comes back, she's like, "Oh, thank you for your patience." And you're like,
Yeah, it is tough. Even by the end of the night, I was doing the bowing thing. I wasn't really putting my hands together, but I was kind of doing the nod, And
yeah,
it's because you feel like, because I will say, I think if you dine there more, you would probably get more accustomed to it and a little more relaxed. But I will say I was a little more tense just because of the experience, and I'm trying to take it all in, but at the same time be on my toes and make sure I'm also polite and also which isn't a burden at all. It's just it's different, and
yeah,
I think that's the reason I was so apt to going here and accepting of it. I was like, yeah, I mean, this could be something really one off that you never really get to do, and it exactly was that. But it felt formal. Like you felt like you don't want to be too chill, right?
yeah.
You wanna play the part yourself a little bit, but it doesn't make it unenjoyable. It just added to the experience to kind of be in that mindset. And yeah, she was ultimately insanely polite. I mean, with your little Japanese phrases, you were saying thank you, that sort of thing, always in Japanese, and she just got a chuckle out of that. She loved it, and because nobody really does that, and she really liked that you were so in the experience, and we were kind of there, kind of feeding into it with you as much as we could, and it topped the whole thing off. I wouldn't say it ruined any other experience for me. It was just different. I almost put that experience in a different category because it was just it's on its own pyramid.
Yeah. I even got the other waitress too when she stopped by and helped us out.
Yeah,
I said that, and she her face, like it was a moment of like, what did he say? And then she like smiled like, oh, like, whoa, this is my native tongue. I'm like, what's coming from this guy? Like the whitest man ever. And I'm like, yeah,
from the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, do itashi mashite. No. Arigato.
Yeah, and then they have the Japanese store down below the restaurant.
Mitsukoshi.
And by the way, this is like a traditional like Japanese building with the flared awnings, not awnings, but like the flared fascia and overhangs and whatnot.
Yeah, like the roofs that are like extending out, like that you're not used to seeing around here.
Yeah, you're totally enthralled in this experience because of all the architecture and everything. And so the store was pretty cool. They had some cool stuff, a lot of nods to Japanese culture, pop culture, the things that are popular there now, and some of it popular here as well. Yes, Pokemon is still very alive and
very much so.
Yeah. Yeah, it brought me back to my childhood. They had like these card decks for sale, and I was like, whoa, I almost bought one just for the shits of it. But,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, it was cool. It was really cool. They had a lot of like of course they had your chopsticks and things like that. Some were like actual Japanese, very artistic and high end. Some were just your typical knockoff, here's some chopsticks type of deal. But some dishware, things like that, and a lot of your other jargon. But overall, cool store and everything. Probably could have even, if I was willing to buy trinkets and whatnot, I probably would have spent some dough there.
Sure.
But fun experience overall. It was kind of a top notch deal. I kind of categorize it differently at the top of the pyramid over here, but yeah, I think we spent enough time on it. But it was one that we needed to give it its time. They do. So next on our list, Wednesday. This is a big day for us. What parks did we do on Wednesday, Jimmy?
So Wednesday, if memory serves correctly, we started off our day at the Magic Kingdom, and because we have park hoppers, I was kind of hoping we could hit up. What am I thinking here? I was trying to hit up other, like, I was hoping for you guys to hit like another park. I think Katie and I, it was Tuesday and Wednesday, we did Rise of the Resistance. So for us, we still I think we got, was it Wednesday or was it Thursday? I forget which day. I got on it 3 times. But Magic Kingdom in the morning, and then we went and did Animal Kingdom after hours event that night. But before we went there, we went out to dinner somewhere. Where did we go?
We did, yeah. It was an earlier dinner. We went to, going along with the theme of Animal Kingdom before we got to go on our after hours event and go crazy. We went to Sanaa, one that I kind of, you had broached the subject with me, and I kind of started looking at it. I was like, you know what? Let's go along the lines of Takumi Te, experience some cuisine that's very different. And I wouldn't say it was really out there, but it had kind of what was it? It was kind of Indian influences as well as African.
Yeah, it was a bit of both.
Yeah, and nothing was really crazy off the charts foreign to us as far as the food, or exotic is the right word. But you and I both got, like, it was, I forget what the names of the dishes were extremely hard to pronounce, but
it was like South African bravilas or whatever, but it was like it was basically just fire cooked meats, which were lamb, beef, and a sausage, which I thought one of them was pork, but you said it was beef, and I was like, I think you might be right. Yeah,
it was almost a fillet or some sort of top of the line strip. It was a little smaller, but it was a good chunk of meat. It was kind of medallion-esque, but not. So I wouldn't call it a fillet. But that, I would say, for me, I thought it almost rivaled Le Cellier, but I didn't have that whole fillet of Le Cellier, so that's probably not fair to say. But I didn't need a steak knife for it. It was either my fork or a butter knife, and it was delicious, cooked perfectly. I loved it. And then and this came with some very natural broccoli. It wasn't your typical broccoli. It was longer stalk and almost like asparagus, but it was broccoli. Very good. Veggies, whatever.
I think I got Brussels sprouts.
No, you had the same thing as me. It was like a long stalk with.
Is that what they had? I thought they asked me, and I said I wanted Brussels sprouts instead. I don't know. I'll check the tape.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
by the way, that steak, I was gonna say quickly, it is not the. It was good. It was not Le Cellier. I'll say that much. It was pretty good. Le Cellier was, I think it was more tender. Just for my, I was on a beef kick this whole trip.
Well, it is a fillet. It was a fillet, so it's. I
think so.
Different.
I think and this one might have been or almost a fillet. Yeah, I don't know. It was decent. It was just mixed in with the sauces and stuff. It was harder to tell.
Yeah, and I don't think it was, but it was high end, whatever it was, and the fact that if you can cut a steak or grilled meat like that without a knife, it's good. Oh. But yeah, not the thing to rave about the most. But
the lamb was good.
Yeah, the lamb was very good.
That was really
I don't
tender.
even think I've really had lamb before, but that was very tender. Yeah. It was thin slices, but you could just kind of lap it up. And this all came on some very, they're very, they're more not our type of potatoes. They're mashed potatoes, but they're less traditional. They're more, and they're very seasoned and buttery, and
they had herbs in them too. They're like green and but they were good.
Yeah, it's a slightly different flavor, but very good, and paired well with all the meats. And the sausage, I think the sausage, might have been. I liked it a lot, and I like sausage. I'm German, I got it, but I liked it. It was a little dry, but it had all the right flavors going on, and it might have been because of the type of meats that they had in there. It wasn't like a straight pork sausage,
I think if you ever eat that again, or either of us do this, don't do what I did and not finish the sausage right away, because sausage does not do well if it gets colder because it gets really grainy. And this one did at the end. I was trying to finish it, but it was just so kind of, it wasn't bad. It was just it was the texture really started to pop when it was cold.
Yeah, and for me, it was the first thing I ate, and I thought it was really good. It had a lot of good flavor. I could tell that the meat was of good quality, hence why it might have been a little drier. So it wasn't just greasing out.
Yeah.
Which I kind of prefer it that way. But yeah, a little drier, and you're right. I think that's something that you got to eat right away.
Go right away. Yeah.
But all the meats paired well together. It was like a meat sampler platter kind of a deal. The mashed potatoes, the flavor of the mashed potatoes really complemented everything well. I liked it.
African meat and potatoes is what it was. It was great.
Yeah, and it was somewhat off the beaten path, a little something exotic enough that you're not going to get it everywhere.
Oh, yeah, no.
You can tell that it's worth the money you pay, and it really was somewhat reasonable for what you got there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I know I skipped appetizer. We'll get back to that, but I think that might have been one of the best parts. So jump into what the ladies had. They had... Katie got some sort of what do you call that dish?
She got like a curry mixture.
Yeah, like some sort of curry, I think chicken and rice type of a deal.
Yeah.
And they bring it out in separate bowls, and then you pour it all together on the plate that the bowls are on to mix it. And it's kind of like, do I just take a bite out of each one of these and mix it that way? No. Everybody always asks, but you're supposed to pour it all together. We allow you to mix it yourself.
Well, weren't they telling her too that most people didn't like it that way, so that way they had to start putting it in bowls because people didn't like it touched?
Something like that, which is super weird because something like that is supposed to mix.
Yeah, they should just bring it out that way. Just be like, there you go.
But it kind of makes it an active thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Which almost maybe made it better. But I didn't have any myself. Katie and Haley were kind of sharing their dishes, and from what I heard, they were both good. I know, curry does a number on the digestive system.
Yeah, but, I looked at her like when she ordered it. I'm like, "Are you nuts? Do you know where we are? Like we're gonna go on some thrill rides soon. You do what you want to."
Not to divulge too much, but between Haley and Katie, we did make a few bathroom stops that evening.
Well, what did Haley have? I forget.
Haley had hers was some sort of pasta, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was necessarily curry, but it was something along those lines, more of an Indian flair.
Yeah.
And sorry, Haley, I couldn't remember exactly what she ate, but
that's fine.
But it looked good, like something I would be all about. But I'm pretty sure it was some sort of pasta dish. But so let's cut back to kind of the highlight of this experience. Jimmy, you made the reservation after we had decided on it, and you requested a window seat because you kind of knew a little bit of what to expect, right?
I tried to. At least I remember trying to, or maybe hoping that would happen, but either way, we did get an amazing window seat.
We got a window seat, and it was kind of back in a corner where the window started, so we had like one table behind us, but to our right there was like a stairwell or a wall that kind of outcropped, and it was really... It kind of made it a nice experience for us because we kind of had a little bit of privacy to kind of hang, and like we could let loose a little bit and relax. And this whole trip, we kind of were like food vloggers.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the second any food or drink came out, it was like, here's the camera. I had a freaking DSLR lens of my food at one point, but which made it fun, and we really enjoyed that experience. But so we're back by the window, we're laughing and telling jokes and really enjoying ourselves. I think that was one of the things that made this one a real highlight for me, was that we were able to really kind of kick back a little bit. And our wait staff was great. We had a good waitress, and she had a waitress in training who had actually worked at Animal Kingdom as a safari guide driving one of the Jeeps. But and she did great as well. And it was kind of fun because we got to converse with each of them a few times, and they're all for it. They kind of get into it, and they love talking to you, which is a nice refreshing difference between that and dining up here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But Jimmy made an executive decision off the bat. I think everybody got water. What did you get? A Coke with no ice?
I probably did. Yeah, I get a cherry Coke, no ice. That's kind of my... And down there specifically, I was like, I gotta keep drinking Coke because I needed the caffeine, and I'm like, I'm one of those power through the day kind of psychos. So I was like, I'm just going to get it. And it was so great because sometimes they're like, is it okay if we put grenadine in there? I'm like, the more grenadine, the better. Like, I was like, just pour it. So yeah, I got that. And Joe, you got some wine, right?
Yeah, I got a glass of Pinot Noir. And
South African.
And it was funny because, I mean, they were South African Pinot Noir. It was very different from any Pinot I had ever had. And that's kind of my go-to. I like Merlot and Cabernet, but only...
Yeah, it was a bit more
I
bold.
wanted
Yeah.
something a little less heavy and dry. So I went with the Pinot, but yeah, I savored that. It was funny. They're very proper about it. Typical finer dining. They bring out the glass and they bring the bottle and they pour just a little taste for you. You get to do this swirl and the smell and the taste. And yep, you know. And I said I'm no wine connoisseur, but pour her up. And Jimmy, with your experience in the wine industry, they poured it, and everybody's just staring. And I look up at you, and you're like, and they left, and you're like, they gave you a generous pour.
It was a generous pour.
Like
Christmas morning generous. Like
yeah, and I looked down, and I was like, yeah, that's probably like 2 servings.
Yeah, it was
a
great.
full wine glass, and savored every bit of it. Shared a little with Haley, kind of a thing, and it was nice. It relaxed me a little bit, I guess. But yeah, so you made an executive decision right off the bat as they asked if we wanted any appetizers, and of course, it was a great executive decision. We got the bread and dip sampler.
Yeah.
And so they bring out this platter with a bunch of flatbreads, and there were like 5 or 6 of them on there, and each one kind of a different flavor. They had like a honey type one. They had not Parmesan, but
I don't even know.
There was a garlic butter one. There was one that was like a seed, some sort of herb one. Oh my gosh!
Just 5 hot slices of non bread. What else do you need?
Yeah, so now and then next to that they got the charcuterie board with little holes cut in it that fit all these little metal sauce.
This is like
dishes.
the jam board or whatever.
I don't even
know what to call it. It was amazing.
And they bring it out and the server says, so let me describe what you're looking at here. And they go, it goes in order from hot to mild. Starting over here with the hot, you have a yada yada. I can't even name them all. They were great.
There's like 9 of them.
One was like a garlic something. One was like a cilantro something or other. One was
they had garlic cloves in one.
Yeah,
and then the one you loved
one
most,
was a hummus.
You also roasted red pepper.
Chili. Yeah, roasted red pepper hummus.
That's your thing.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Sabra. This was good. Then the one I like, they had a couple that were just like red chili types, kind of almost salsa-esque. Of course, the hottest one was like, it was like a red chili something, but it was hot.
There was 2 at the end, and I thought the second from the end was hotter almost than the hottest one.
Yeah, so coincidentally, that was the one I loved the most, and it actually it was like a jalapeno. What was it? Jalapeno. What was the other ingredient in there?
I don't know.
Jalapeno something.
You keep talking about it. I'll look it up.
And it had like the rind of the jalapeno. It had like the jalapeno chunks in there. And it was very smoky flavored. It was spicy as hell, but any piece of pita I put it on, it was like, yeah, baby. And we saved the dip tray for later to put on some of our other food, and it was a good move because it was great. Do
you want me to read them off quick?
Go for it.
Yeah, so I don't think this is going to be exactly in order, but for those who are curious, and I think we've talked about it in the past maybe, but red chili sambal, cucumber is a raita, coriander chutney, mango chutney, the best one, tomato date jam, garlic pickle, spicy jalapeno lime pickle, roasted red bell pepper hummus, and tamarind chutney. That's a lot of stuff.
What was the jalapeno one again?
The jalapeno spicy jalapeno lime pickle.
Yeah. And that was the one I loved the most.
And the thing I've learned too in my culinary exploits is that if it says pickle or pickled near it, it usually means it's going to be less intense. So if you ever get like a pickled jalapeno, that means it's usually not as hardcore as like a regular jalapeno. That's been my experience.
It wouldn't surprise me because it was hot as it was, so they use that to tone it down a hair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have been edible.
But yeah, that mango chutney though. Oh my
That was good too. I did try it. I tried every one of them except for the cucumber one, which was like a white creamy sauce.
Oh, that
Like
one seemed.
it
I thought they
wasn't
just
in
poured
that.
ranch in a thing, but no,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
more than
it
that.
was like a sour creamy type
Yeah,
deal.
I think I tried
Probably
it.
with
Maybe.
dill in it, but anywho, that was a great decision, and
Thank
we
you.
had a lot of fun all tearing pieces off and eating that and trying every different one, and it was just really good. So now let's get to the overall experience besides the wait staff, which we already covered.
Mhm.
The ambiance in the place is very African. Um, and I think the person who seated us, he was well traveled. We had a little
Yeah.
discussion with him. Katie had been to South Africa. They were talking about that. He had kind of been all over. He was from Africa. Um, Super nice guy. Talked to us for a little bit before he even left, and all he was doing was seating us. And
Yeah.
that's cool. That's just
Kakinde.
another example.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved it because I was like, "How do I say your name?" And he's like, "Kakinde," and I was like, "All right, Kakinde." So, and then he was like,
And what?
"Yeah, I was in Dubai for a while." And I was like, "Oh, have you seen like the Burj Khalifa?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Have you been?" And I'm like, "No." And I want to say like, "I've seen it in Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, but besides that, I haven't been there."
Yeah, and most people wouldn't know the name, but they know it if they saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that accent, man, I
Oh
don't
my
know what it is.
gosh,
I had a
so cool.
professor from Africa one time, and I forget where, but that accent. There's something captivating about that African accent. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
and it's almost very well spoken the way they speak. And, I don't know. It's cool, but so the rest of the experience, the window seat. Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
This is at Animal Kingdom Lodge. A bunch of lodges kind of parceled out around this property. We're at one of the main ones, but not the main one,
We were
right?
at the Disney Vacation Club. We were at Kidani Village,
Yeah,
not the Jumbo House.
and so this is on the ground level floor, which is technically like the basement of this building. And they have these big, tall wall windows there, and big curtain wall. Um, this it looked out over a safari area. Lo and behold, we sit down, we're getting our bread plate, and what are we looking at? We're looking at giraffes wandering around, and next thing you know, it must have been dinner time. You see a couple like running across the Serengeti.
Yeah, I think the youngest
um,
one was like, "It's dinner," and the other ones were
yeah,
like, "Yeah, it happens every
dude.
day." Like,
Dude, I mean, I understand. Like a lot of people are obsessed with giraffes, and I kind of get why. They really
yeah,
are just impressive
they're
creatures.
fascinating.
They are, and just the overall aesthetic and the stature of them is insane. And that was really cool to see. Next thing you know, we have what are the cattle called that they have?
The Ankoli cattle.
Yeah, which have the gigantic horns. They're like a longhorn on steroids,
Yeah,
and these horns look like they'd weigh like 100 pounds each. And coincidentally, you told me they have a honeycomb filling to them that makes them lighter, but still they're strong. So apparently, each one only weighs like 5 pounds or
which is
something like that.
ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, because these things are like you'd have trouble fitting them in your damn car.
oh yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah,
uh, they had one of those wandering around. The next thing you know, freaking herd of wildebeest, and these are not like you see on like the Discovery Channel or Net Geo. They're healthy, and you can tell they have like the shiny coat. You can actually make out the stripe pattern of their fur and everything. They're beautiful creatures. I've never seen wildebeest before in person, except for here, and they were actually really cool. They're really aggressive too, even
yeah,
towards each other. You could see them kind of fighting over a stack of hay and stuff. But we got dinner and a show, and they're not that far away. Like that was so cool,
yeah.
so cool. So that experience overall, like I said, we still have another one to go, don't we?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah. All right. We'll come back to it. We'll get back to the power rankings too. Our next dining out experience, our last one, was Thursday afternoon. We took
correct.
a little side trip between our park visits over to Disney Springs, the shopping area. really cool shopping area, unlike anywhere you'll ever go. You know, most of the stores are kind of high end, like you get your Gucci and all your Coach and stuff like that. And But it's all outdoor shopping, which is kind of a new thing for malls. Like instead of a mall that's all self-contained, it's all outdoor now. A lot of city centers or suburbs are doing that now. It's more popular, but this is even more so immersive. Like it makes you feel like you're on the ocean front. They have their water area with the bridge, and all the buildings are the architecture and the design of all these buildings are themed, but also very there's something very appealing about it all, like a village on its own there. And so we walked through. We didn't really do any shopping. That wasn't our goal. But we had reservations for the boathouse. One that I picked, it actually was much different than I expected. I thought it would be a little more laid back and Americanized. And it was Americanized, and it was laid back because of the crowd you walk in and it's actually kind of fine dining. I was really surprised that they had white tablecloths and stuff. I was like, oh crap, I should have. But it's still relaxed because everybody's there. They're out and about just like we are, so it's not like the dress code is enforced. But my whole goal on this trip, I saw the menu at this place. I was like, I'm getting swordfish. I might even order two because they had swordfish steak, and it was a Cajun andouille. So it had crawfish and sausage over rice, and then on the top you had your steak of swordfish. And for those who don't know, I'm obsessed with swordfish. I love it. I think it's the best fish known to man. We should start farms up and start raising swordfish. And so that was one of my main goals on this trip. So it was my Wagyu beef, although does not rival Wagyu beef at all, but this was my Wagyu beef. And Jimmy, you and Katie got, what type of shrimp was it? It was just like boiled shrimp?
So yeah, ours is like peel and eat shrimp. It was like peel and eat actually from Florida, which is kind of cool. So basically they came out, I don't know if there's also like butter on them as well, but they came out with butter in one little dish and like cocktail sauce in another. And Katie was teaching me this. You kind of you just peel them off, so it's basically like a full shrimp. You peel the skin off, and then take the tail off or keep it, and you can hold on to it. But you dip it in the cocktail sauce and then dip it in the butter. And the butter actually, because it's like an oil, it is an oil, and it actually doesn't like the cocktail sauce didn't like slough off in it or anything like that. So you could kind of you could make it really good. So you burned more calories is what I joked about than when you're actually eating it. But it does take a while, and it does take patience. And we got it, but they were actually appetizers. So we each got that, and then we just got some like fries to split. But yeah, it was really good, and the best peel and eat shrimp I've probably ever had. I think the only other I've had is like at Bubba Gump's, which is pretty good too. But this was pretty good. I if I go back there, I'd probably get the same thing. I was like,
Yeah. Well, and so my wife Haley, she ended up getting a lobster mac and cheese with andouille, so it had andouille sausage in it, and apparently she wasn't as hungry as she thought. It was a big bowl that came out, but yeah. So anywho, mine, delectable, loved it.
Yeah.
Very Cajun-y, a little different. I'm not used to swordfish being a Cajun style, but it worked for this. It had a nice crispness on top from the sear. Perfectly cooked, and the consistency was right, and all the flavors were there. And that with the kind of not Spanish rice but Cajun rice, and the crawfish and the sausage, it was just that combo, the sauce and the seasoning they had, it was very worth every penny. I don't want to say, I mean, I'd say it was my favorite meal. It was the one that I would go to time and time again, I think. The sushi and everything was great. I love Sanaa, but I think this is something that I would like. I go there once a week for lunch and get that, But the experience, nothing crazy. I mean, they have the amphicars or whatever, the amphibious cars that they take you for rides on. We didn't really see that much because there was intermittent rain that day. But the wait staff, they were good. They were a little more direct and a little more straightforward here, not as Disney-esque. but overall the experience was good. They had really good bread. It was like a honey glazed bread with butter.
That they were trying to get rid of because they kept giving it to us.
Yeah, like we didn't even have to ask. They're just like, let me get you more bread. Then a different guy walked by and be like, oh, it looks like you need some more bread. And it's like, I don't know. I got to eat my dinner yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good. Haley couldn't finish all her lobster mac and cheese, so of course I had to have some. And oh my gosh, that was pretty. That was like comfort food. That's like that gets you fat food right there. It was good. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a subpar experience. It was nice and all, but it wasn't anything off the charts. But the food, I think, was well worth it and good. And it was more of that, coastal experience, seafood wise, and all that. So it was nice. And I don't think there's too much more to say about it, is there?
Sure. No. Did you want to rank them now?
Let's rank them now.
Sure.
So like I said, and this is my ranking, you can speak differently, but Takumi Te, mostly due to the experience, I got to rank that one number one. But as I said, I almost put that in a separate category all on its own. It doesn't even, it can't even have any competition, essentially. So call it number one, if you will. But it's over here up at the top of the shelf. But then I would rank Sanaa number two, or my number one in the other category, the normal category, I'll call it. I enjoyed that one, and mostly because I think we were just all in the right mindset. We were about to go to our after hours event, but we had a nice seating spot. We had the animals to watch, and we had the nice appetizer that kind of got us going, and we were telling jokes, and there's something about that meal itself that we created a lot of the experience, but it was just a lot of fun. And the food was great, and I think the highlight of it was actually the appetizer. I really liked that. But it was also exotic enough to be different. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed that. So that's my number two, or my number one in the normal category. And then obviously that leaves the Boathouse and Le Cellier. For me, Le Cellier is cool and everything. I think it's a little more straightforward. So is Boathouse, but and the service was good, but for me, I like the style of, kind of the Boathouse. I think you can guess what the theming is there. And it's not a Red Lobster. If anybody compared it to that, I'd probably slit the throat. But it was good. I'd rank that number two on my normal list, and then followed by Le Cellier. Le Cellier, their menu is good. It's a slightly more meat and potatoes. The poutine is probably the most exotic thing you get there. But fine dining, yes, it very much so is. Maybe if I had the filet or something a little more up there on the menu list, I might speak differently about it. Our waitress, good, friendly, but there was something a little odd about her too, which maybe I deduct points for. Like if we were foodie critics, we could really dig into this. But the Boathouse, man, that's just kind of my preference. I love that type of food. The seafood, I can get all about it. I'm all up in there. So, so Takumi Te, number one, kind of off on its own. It's the gold star. Then I got Sanaa, then I got Boathouse and Le Cellier. Le Cellier, I think, has a chance to bump up if you kind of approach it differently, and maybe for a larger meal and you're willing to spend the money. So that and Boathouse, I think, are kind of similar for me. But that's how I rank them. I guess Jimmy, lay it down for me.
So I'll start. I like to go from the bottom to the top. I think it's kind of I was gonna say it's more of a tie for Le Cellier, and the Boathouse. I'm gonna put Boathouse at the very bottom. Just for me, it feels like the most pedestrian out of all the places we went to, and it was in Disney Springs, so you got to kind of remember that too. Not that Disney Springs is bad, but I love the ambiance of the atmosphere that you get with Le Cellier, and I like the food better there. I think our server was a little weird at Le Cellier for sure. I don't think our server at Boathouse was way better because he seemed kind of like short with us, but the one at Le Cellier was kind of like almost offended, so I don't know. But I put it so it's like Boathouse here, Le Cellier here. Sanaa is definitely number 2. I mean, just for the freaking I could have left after that appetizer and been like super happy. I would have been like, that was perfect. And kind of resonating with most of what Joe said. And you put it at number 1. But let's just be honest with everybody here. For anybody who's watched me, and I've talked about this a few times now, Takumite is the Lord of the Rings of dining experiences. I don't even want to put it at number 1 because I don't think it belongs on any list. I think it's like off on its own mountaintop somewhere else where it's like no one should talk about it other than just in reverence. Because like when I think about it, I tried so hard to find something I didn't like. I just couldn't. I looked at everything. I'm like, And the thing was, we were in the paper room, like Joe said. In the wood room, there's like 6 dudes in there. I think they're doing like sake shots, and they're just kind of slapping each other in the back. They would have probably ruined that experience for us. But in our room, we had like a few couples and stuff. It was like super chill, just shamisen music playing. It was lovely. Yeah. It was so good. So
coincidentally, that next day, I went and looked up Japanese music because they had a playlist on display down in the shop.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of similar stuff to what they were playing in there. And I kid you not, you need to try it too. It is the most relaxing and kind of soothing, just good music I think you can ever listen to. It's actually very nice.
Who says I haven't? Yeah, but that's kind of my ranking. And I think that's the thing about Takumite is it's the quintessential dining experience that you get at Disney, because when we were in there, and I even talked about this, like there were fireworks going on outside, and I kind of wanted to see them at one point, but I was actually in there. It didn't feel like I was at a theme park anymore. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted to stay there all night. I was frustrated I didn't do like the 2-hour dining experience because I was like, this would have been great. You just sit down and you're just like, all right, here we go. Like you could just really settle in. And Takumite, man, just like the service and the food, like everything was just firing on all cylinders, and that's exactly what makes you feel good about spending a lot of money on something like this. And then on the flip side with like Sanaa, that was just what a great place to bring your friends. Like if you guys are worried about like a budget thing, Sanaa is much more budget friendly. I would say it's still in like the $3 tier, if you're like looking at kind of like an online comparison, but just get the breadboard, eat with friends, indulge in that natural feeling of like, we're sharing bread as comrades, and man, you will have a heck of a good time, especially if you get to see some dopey giraffes running around or some wildebeest, which I was frustrated because I got that reservation at about sunset. I actually like looked into all this, and it was a cloudy day, and I was like, dang it, because I was really hoping to get like sunset, and they were all eating, which was really nice, so that we got a lot of action as far as that goes. But man, I really want to make sure to do Takumite and Sanaa for future visits, especially for people who haven't been there before. Because like you, Joe, you've been there once. Haley had never been there. Katie and I had never been to Sanaa. We'd never been to Takumite. And I just think it's something I want to go back to, because it just makes me feel like this is the justification for going to this place and being different than anything else you're going to get anywhere else. Oh, yeah. So good. I love it.
Very much so.
Well, Joe, we talked about the food briefly, thank goodness. But let's wrap up here. Let's talk about some rides, because we talked about the hotel, the food. Now it's the rides.
I mean, you think maybe, this has been going on. We covered a lot of stuff. Maybe this needs to be a separate podcast on its own.
I would, but the problem is, like, it's just, if you can you at least briefly tell us your top 2 or 3 favorite rides?
I just wanted to make the audience nervous that we won't talk about the real goods,
I was like, oh, here we go again.
All right, so let's hit this one off. So you got 4 parks everybody knows: Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and MGM, or as they now call it, Hollywood Studios. But out of habit, I always call it MGM.
That's fine.
Anywho,
it's cool to call it.
By the way, Skyliner. Skyliner went from our hotel, a low-end hotel, and it was on a bridge over the water between ours and Animation?
Art of Animation. Yes, very good.
But anywho, it took us to a hub, and then it split in 2 different directions, and it would go from there to either Hollywood Studios or Epcot. So Epcot and Hollywood Studios were so easy to get to for us. And it was open from I think it was open from 7 to 11 or something. The Skyliner.
Yeah, it
And
was
so
up pretty late.
when I say Skyliner, think of a ski gondola. So a ski lift at a major resort. It's a gondola. It seats about 8 people. Enclosed, air vents on hot days, and closed during the cold ones. And that was really convenient and nice. So going to these parks is real easy. And it's fast, and it's also cool. You're floating above the traffic. You're floating above other resorts. You're going over water. You get to see an alligator or two. It was really cool. But yeah, so first day we kicked it off with Animal Kingdom. We rode the Mount, oh gosh, Expedition Everest, which was by far, as roller coasters go, it was by far my favorite. It is somewhat intense. It doesn't go upside down or anything, but the Yeti experience at the top, the rip track, the silhouette of him and everything, then seeing him at the end as the actual animatronic one that doesn't move, unfortunately, but and then the fact that it goes backwards, and it's also very fast and really puts you back in your seat. I loved it.
I get sick just thinking about it. I hate that portion. That ride would be so much better to me if you didn't do that.
Yeah, when we got there, we weren't there early enough to rope drop Pandora stuff. So Flight of Passage or the boat ride.
I wish that was what it was called instead of Navi River Journey. There's they're like Flight of Passage and the boat ride. Just get on the boat.
When you do Flight of Passage, that's kind of how you feel. But it was crazy, the people that are lined up to get to that right away. When they get into those parks, that's immediately the direction they go, and the wait already soars up to 3 hours to get on Flight of Passage. But and believe it or not, it was over 2 hours to get on the Navi River Journey.
Yeah.
Which is just insane. I mean, I get it. It's popular and all, but yeah, there was no way we were going to wait that long. And we had fast passes later in the week. And we also had the after hours event here, so we knew we'd do it. But anywho, so first thing we rope dropped, we went right to the safari, which was a good call. Sun had just risen a little bit, and it was starting to get nice out, and it was cold while we were down there. It was in the 50s the first 3 days, and then hit 70s and high 70s on the last two. But it was crazy. It took us out early morning and second Jeep out, and you get to see all these animals and all the typical African animals. They had white, black rhinos. They had cheetahs, lions, hippos, Nile crocodiles. I mean, you name it, they pretty much had it. And the coolest part of this was we came out of the woods and into the first clearing. That's kind of your Serengeti plain, right? And you look out, and right in front of us, probably 100 feet, what was it, 6 or 8 giraffes?
It's I counted 9. There was a group moving together.
Yeah, some
kind of behind us
and some younglings, and they're just walking across the freaking field with the sun rising behind them, kind of that, those morning hours where there's still that little bit of dew on the ground, and they're just the most majestic thing I think I'll ever see in my life, unless I go to Africa and wait for a herd of giraffes.
Yeah.
This was it's like they set it up for us, and there was a guy on the other side of the field holding a thing of hay, come on, guys. There will be photos of that. We'll share them with you, Jimmy. Maybe you can post them up on Twitter and whatnot. But that was a highlight of the trip, really, looking back on that, seeing those giraffes do that. That was it was right out of the Lion King, It was cool. We got to see the male lion take a dump on top of his pride rock. And also, as we were rolling away, the guide even said it, you don't get to hear that very often, because she stopped the truck and said, "Oh, you hear that? That's the lion roaring. You typically don't hear that unless you're early or late."
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the roar. It's not like the MGM lion at the beginning of a movie where he's roaring kind of aggressively. It was kind of that guttural type of one where it's
like a belting.
Like a guttural one, and it was cool nonetheless, and it was crazy how loud it actually was. But Yeah, the lions are cool. The cheetahs are cool. Overall, it was really neat. And it's interesting how they kind of keep the herbivores from, because they don't really have them in cages, but they keep them from roaming too close to other areas or getting out of different zones.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, because I heard as the truck went over them, there's like these chains that are on little bridges or choke points. And I was looking at them because we were in the back, and I kept seeing, I heard the clicking like an electric fence, and I looked back. I'm like, huh, what are those for? And then I looked back again on another one, and it was clicking again as the truck rolled over it. And sure enough, it was electrified. You could see the power source and everything, and must have been touching something on the ground. So some of them were clicking like that, and so that's how they keep them in their different zones. I'm sure they don't touch them often. They're smarter than that, but it was interesting how they make all that work. It's very natural. It's not a zoo. It is not a zoo, and it's pretty magnificent. So that was a highlight of Animal Kingdom. Probably the coolest thing you can do. Flight of Passage at our after hours event, we basically got to have all the soda, ice cream, popcorn, and whatever we wanted there. It was all free, and we were kind of going nuts and all hopped up. And we did the Expedition Everest ride once. We got to see the River of Lights, which was actually very profound and kind of made you well up a little bit. It was so cool. The music and everything, and the light show with the floating barges that are all controlled by they're programmed like a computer, and they project like almost a Natural Geographic movie of wilderness up on the screen, and it's kind of like it's not a tree hugger thing. It's just like a conservation kind of empowered thing, like, care about the planet and all these other creatures that we share it with. And it wasn't too what's the word? Hokey. It was they do such a good job with it that it's very impactful. Makes you feel a little something, as you're watching it. And the music, they also have a little bit of speaking throughout it at certain moments, but it's very impactful and gorgeous. So great show there. Of course, we had to do some more rides, so we went to Pandora to get that out of the way. We did the Navi River journey, I think, and then we went on to do Flight of Passage, and the wait's normally 3 hours. When you look at this queue line, you're like, oh my God, never. Like, it is long and lines around everywhere. I can't imagine waiting in that line for 3 hours in like sweltering heat and humidity. But
apparently it was built to hold up to 6.
Up to 6 hours?
Yeah, that's what that line was built to. We didn't even walk in the extended queue where you get to go by like one of the Navis, like in a tube, like the avatars, I should say. Like you see a full,
which would have been cool, but ultimately Pandora in itself, it blends really well. Like you start walking towards it, and eventually it just kind of transitions very non-assumingly, and it starts to get into that. We had to see it at night, kind of why we did the after hours here and not somewhere else. But the what do you call it? Everything glows and lights up, the bioluminescence at night. They did such a good job with it, all the water features and everything, and some of the creatures and whatnot. The floating rocks that they constructed. I mean, go YouTube it. I won't get into it too much, but it is just gorgeous and magnificent. It is very impactful, and that presence, you're immersed in that world. It's pretty cool. Navi River journey, it's cool in its own right. It's worth doing. Am I going to wait 2 hours for it? Never. But if you can get a fast pass for that or do an after hours, it's worth going on. If you really like Avatar, sure, go on it a couple times. But it's a riverboat ride. It is what it is. It's nothing fast and thrilling, but well designed and immersive and impressive nonetheless. The animatronic that they have in there apparently is the most state-of-the-art animatronic they have, and there's some behind-the-scenes stuff on that. But so going from that to Flight of Passage, we just got to walk right on. They even let us choose what level we wanted to go to, and Flight of Passage, spoiler alert, It's tiered seating. You're on like a motorbike type of deal where you're kind of bent over. It's meant to mimic riding a banshee, or what do they call them?
Yeah, Banshee's Ekron.
Ecron, yeah.
Why do I remember this? Ay, ay, ay.
Good on you. Anywho, it mimics that really well. The queue is very interactive when you get split into groups and they start sending you in to get to the ride. The timing and how that works out is very impressive. Um, and you get to interact with like this guy scientist who's talking to you. Let's match you up with your Navi and yada yada, and you'll be able to link with this and that. And you're in these rooms with these really cool screens that are all very interactive and very technological. Like you're in the movie, right? Um, but yeah, back to the ride. Once they get you in there, you get seated on the motorbike deal, and it locks you in with like a back pressure plate, and it feels like a crotch rocket, like a sport bike. Um, you got glasses that are supposed to enhance 3D or whatever. They're kind of uncomfortable and clunky and stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
They're for the experience. All of a sudden, you're looking at a wall in front of you. You don't know what you're getting into. All of a sudden, like it strobes and the wall's gone. And next thing you know, it's lifted. The whole platform is shifted away from the one you walked in on. And you're basically like projected out in a vertical theater. That's the best way to describe it. A vertical theater in like probably what I would call like a 3-story building.
Mm-hmm.
And the screen is 3 stories tall and is wide, and I actually made the effort to take my glasses off and lean out and look down, and there's just row after row after row of other people on these bikes, right?
Was this on your first ride through or your second?
My first ride through. I think midway through the ride I had to do this and lean out, and I was
Just
like, where are we? And I looked
Can't
back
help but ruin the experience every time. He's like, I gotta see how this is.
It didn't at all. It was just so impressive. And people have been known to get nauseous on this ride, and I can see why. But essentially, it's mimicking, like, you feel the breathing between your legs with like airbags, and it's got you held out over this theater, and you're looking at the screen, and it's all this experience of you're flying. And they do some crazy stuff. Like, it'll make you nauseous because it makes you do some like vertical dives through canyons. At some points, it rears up to try and stop midair because it runs into stuff and whatnot. And I won't give it all away, but the flight that you take is very intense and cool. And the sights, the sounds, the smells, even the smells, it's a 4D experience. It's somewhat mind-blowing.
Sure.
I don't want to wait 3 hours for it, but it is really cool. So knowing that I wouldn't do this again probably ever, or it'd be a very long time, I went and I said, I got to go again. Everybody else is looking for the puke bucket. And I'm like, I don't care. Even if I puke, I'm going again. So I went and walked right back on. And this time I had made it a point to not focus on anything else but the ride.
There you go.
I didn't breathe in when they pumped the smells because for some reason I feel like, because they do like the ocean breeze smell, they do like the foresty smell, and I don't like that because I feel like, yeah, even though it's immersive, it makes you feel like it's real. I think that's what made me a little nauseous, that weird smell. But this time I made it a point to really like focus in on it and pretend I was flying. Like I really just like got into it and kind of started to lean in with it and everything, and it was awesome. It was really cool. I mean, I don't think there's any ride on property that can rival it as far as like mimicking something like that.
I disagree, but that's okay.
And that's not what I mean. It's not better than other rides.
No. I think Smuggler's
totally
Run
different.
does a better job of mimicking like something because there's more. You're not a passenger. That's my biggest problem with Flight of Passage. Is it feels like you're just kind of like
Sure,
they
you
say
don't
you're all doing the
have
same
control.
thing, right? We're all on the
you
same
don't have
Banshee.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have control or anything, which would be hard. You can't really do it. But nonetheless, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I'm sure you can figure it out or you've looked it up. But picture the ride Soarin' in Epcot, only upgraded and more advanced and more immersive.
Yeah.
That's kind of the principle of it, and it's much bigger. It blew my mind. It was worth doing twice. And the second time I was a little wobbly because, but it was great. It was really cool. It was made you feel like you were in the movie really doing that. And that's awesome. But, I'm spending a lot of time on this, and I'm sure people, if you get interested, just go check it out for yourself. If you don't feel like it's ruining it for you, maybe YouTube some stuff, whatever. But I think that really highlights Animal Kingdom for me. The ride Dinosaur, or what it used to be called, Countdown to Extinction.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy made sure we did that. We did that first day, and then we did it 4 or 5 times this night, and it's just a good ride.
Yeah,
it's just a really good ride. It's dark, but it's got a good principle to it for the most part, and the animatronic practical effect usage is exceptional. It's just a fun ride. It feels good. It's kind of, you can do it more than once and not feel sick. It's just a good time, and so we did it a few times. It had to have at least been 4, but anywho, that kind of caps off Animal Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, I'll do that one next. We did every ride there multiple times for the most part, except for Space Mountain, unfortunately, because we all know it's a classic. It's hard to get on. Yeah, Jimmy's tearing up because he wanted to ride it a million times.
A bunch of weaklings. I could have ridden it 5 times. No, okay, it was hard. We should have, in hindsight, should have done 2 after-hours events and then just done Space Mountain 3 times in a row.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom was worth the after-hours event because you get to do a few things that you probably never would have been able to get on unless you're willing to wait half a day to do it. And plus seeing some of those things at night, Pandora at night was off the charts cool. But Magic Kingdom would have been good at an after-hours event because there are so many more attractions and you could have hit them all so many more times, and really that's where you'd just be like, wee, all night long, kind of a thing.
What was your favorite from Magic Kingdom? Maybe favorite and least favorite, so that way we'll go for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, this one has some of your more typical coasters, but for me, I really loved Big Thunder Mountain. I think that's just a very traditional roller coaster. It's actually longer than you would ever think. It's fast. It's almost as good as the Yeti, but maybe not as aggressive. Like the Yeti has some drops that are a little more intense, but overall, I like this one because it's a little longer. I like the routes it takes and that it's so outdoorsy. And then I also really like the queue line.
Yeah.
Expedition Everest was cool. It's got that whole theming, but it's this one. I don't know what it was about it. You feel like you're up high and you're kind of going through this mine base and stuff. It's neat.
You didn't see the actual full queue for Expedition Everest though, and it's really, really good.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I really like Big Thunder Mountain. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, I think, is a lot of fun. It's a newer coaster. It's smooth. It's fast. It's not too intense, but it feels good,
Yeah.
And it's a little newer, so the characters and stuff and all the mine jewels that they have all lit up, it's pretty cool to see. But it is a little on the shorter side, and there's such a long wait for it, too. But the wait should never affect the ride rating. But I like that one a lot. I think for me, it would go Big Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion, believe it or not. I really like that one, even though it's a clamshell conveyor ride. But I just like that, the theming of it, and it's so well done. Even the queue line's kind of fun. And I think we did it twice. I could probably do it again. But after that, I put Space Mountain. Space Mountain's just a great experience. I mean, that's just such a classic. The only reason I don't like it as much as maybe Big Thunder is just because of I don't feel like I like it, but I feel like it's just more herky jerky.
Yes.
Like I like a fast, aggressive ride, but this one kind of feels I don't know. It's cool, but the fact that I can't anticipate anything, I don't know when to go. Yeah, it's just more like it's intense. I'll say that, but it's a good rival to Big Thunder. But the queue is kind of cool, but it's somewhat standard. It's neat, but the ride experience itself, it's just really intense, which kind of amps it up. So between that and Big Thunder, probably my two favorites. Haunted Mansion, different style. I put that one in second, or it's up there in the rankings. That's kind of where I'll leave it. I think. Are there any others that are like mind blowing per se? I don't think so. There are other great ones, but um, I'll say, if I was going the top five, I'd say Pirates. Pirates is a good one. Water Ride, I think there's like one small drop, but the theming and the animatronics and the ship scene with Barbossa and then Captain Jack kind of sparse throughout, kind of running from him. Well done, fun, and just cool all around. I could go through that a few times and really enjoy it, and I think we did it twice. Trying to think, is there one more? Jimmy, help me out here. What's another one that's real good? There are some.
I think
Jungle Cruise?
Oops. All right, that works.
Yeah. I like Jungle Cruise. It was good. I don't think I think the best part about that, there aren't any real animals obviously, but I think the best part of it is your captain kind of telling jokes at every corner, puns and whatnot. It makes it fun. It's a good time. So that's where I'll leave it. I don't know if you have any others to weigh in on or add. But,
I already kind of have. I mean, that's the thing about having that other show where I like talked about. I think we did top 5 there, and you kind of hit most of the top 5 for me, I think. And Splash Mountain was down. I know that like you always were like, oh, I don't want to go on a ride that makes me wet. But if you go on it at night, it might be the last thing you do. You're gonna get a little wet, sure, but it's just so good.
So like good. Log rides, those exist in a lot of places. But I think Splash Mountain is on a different tier.
Oh yeah, it's like you're going into a movie. Like when you went into Peter Pan and Winnie the Pooh, it's kind of like that. But imagine the kind of that the ominousness of a water ride, but also the terrifying nature of going down drops that you have no idea when the big drop is coming. And when they finally show off that big drop, it's the scariest lift hill, especially at night because it's just all darkness and creepy little eyes are watching, and they play this music, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is an intense drop, and I don't think I've ever ridden it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's nuts, but
I love it.
Now that I'm older, I appreciate the drops more. Like all the roller coasters, I'm like, I wish it had a bigger, better drop. But too bad we didn't get a chance to ride that one. But it was a little chilly. Might have been cold. Anywho, that covers Magic. Let's jump over to Epcot. Epcot, not quite up to par right now because there's a lot of construction and updates going on. Like Test Track was closed down. But we pretty much did everything else worth doing except for the space one. What was the space one?
Mission Space.
Yeah, which, let's face it, that would have just made us all sick and barfy. And so we did like the land. We did the one that goes through the sphere, which was...
Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. The whole like taking your photo and then putting it on an interactive screen and stuff, and kind of it was neat, and it was long. It stopped like 10 times for us.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it was weird, but I kept going. We're in the sphere right now. You're like, yeah, man, yeah. I'm like, how did they do this? I'm kind of like freaked out that I'm in this giant sphere up on some sort of scaffold. Anywho, we did that. Obviously, we did the land, living with the land.
Yep.
Katie's favorite ride, apparently.
Yeah.
We did that 2 times.
Yeah.
It is neat. I will say that. It is neat. It's kind of a relaxing, get off your feet water ride, and it takes you through these greenhouse gardens and some other animatronic sets and whatnot. I like the buffalo part in the field. Buffaloes even help to fertilize the soils of the Great Plains, and there's like a thunderstorm in the background, and they got the Kent farmhouse, looks just like it, the barn, then they got the L house, all that. It was cool. The fish farm thing, that's neat too. And then Soarin'.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to waste much more time on Epcot. Obviously, we talked about the dining experience there. The World Tour is cool. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Frozen.
I was gonna say, let it go, Joe.
Yeah, dude. Here's the thing that's funny is I didn't think I walked into that ride like whatever. We got fast pass for it. Let's do it. We try and do everything right. We did that experience. It's kind of cool, you know. They're kind of taking you through the storyline of it, I guess, a little bit or whatever. And it's a water ride. And it's a little bit more of an advanced water ride. It feels like because you change direction a couple times with like it kind of turns you and stuff. And when you come at one point, these doors open up and you come into like the Grand Castle area, and they've got this animated Elsa up on this pedestal throne type of thing, standing up singing. And you start to hear the music as the doors open, and she's just like belting out the "Let It Go" song, looking at you. And as much as I hate to admit it, it is kind of like that, like whoa, goosebumpy moment.
Yeah.
And that song, whether you like it or not, and for a lot of parents, I'm sure they've heard it way too many times, but it's a good song. They really hit a chord with that one,
Yeah.
and it has this moment of grandeur that like you can't mimic anywhere. And she's just like belting this out, and it's very dramatic, and the sound is way up there, and they kind of bring you up to her and stop you, and then they kind of send you back out backwards, I think, and then they turn you around and you do a drop or whatever. But
And then she promptly tries to kill you. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, all I can say is if you ever do that ride, soak in that moment and then think to yourself, I can't imagine the little kids' reaction that are so into this movie or these movies now. When they come into that hall, their jaws must freaking put a dent in the bottom of the boat. You know, they're probably just like, you know, like, and then when you have to leave the hall and they send you out, they're probably crying, but it is just unbelievable. I like the Norwegian area. There's a little like shrine or like museum type thing where they talk about like the Celtic gods of the Vikings, like Thor and Odin and all that, and Loki. That was actually kind of neat. You know, I mean, it's nothing crazy exciting, but it's very well done and kind of neat. They have like statues in there, four-sided statue, and then they have little like history things in glass cases.
Steeple church.
Yeah, and that's kind of a neat little side cut there, and yeah, not much else to say about Epcot other than the top-notch ride. Soarin'. I think, wasn't it after Takumi Te we snuck in there and we were able to ride that twice in a row?
Yeah.
We didn't even have to get out of our seats.
Yeah.
But we were in the front seats, and this one it's like a conveyor of all these hanging seats, and then it raises you up to the roof, and you got the big screen, and it flies you through all these, like a world tour, like Africa, China, all those, and it's really, really cool. It was such a fun experience, and so it was actually kind of profound because it's things that you can relate to, things that are real in our world now, and they take you on that tour and you're flying through it, and it was profound enough, and it wasn't too long. So we're like immediately we look at the cast member like, can we go again? Yeah, sure, buckle up. And it was worth it. By far, I would say my favorite ride at Epcot by far. So,
how does it compare to Flight of Passage? Now, was it good that you did Soarin' first?
It's a similar concept, but I think Flight of Passage is it's definitely like 110% more immersive.
Sure.
Yeah, Soarin' does make you feel like you're flying and everything and all that, but Flight of Passage, I mean, you're riding something, you're diving down tunnels, and you feel like you're doing the work a little bit. Where Flight of Passage is more of that, you know, you feel like you're maybe seated in a plane and you're doing these crazy flights, but it's a little more profound because it's not tangible, but just relatable.
Yeah.
Things that you know of, you know. And the film is really good. But the Flight of Passage, that'll make you a little more sick, just because, like, you're in it, right? You're in it. They're different, so don't think if you've done one, you've done the other.
Yeah.
You need to do them both. And I would say Flight of Passage, just for the immersiveness and that experience, it's a little bit of it's a big step up but different in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that covers Epcot for the most part. Anything else to mention there?
No, I think so.
Oh, the aquarium.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Finding Nemo shit, whatever. Okay. But then you get to the aquarium. Pretty good aquarium. It's nothing crazy. It's very big, but it's not like your typical like city aquarium, like the Newport Aquarium down in Kentucky, Cincinnati, whatever you want to say. But they have really big tanks. They have a dolphin, they have manatees, and you can really get pretty close and see those. Overall, that was a cool experience. I love aquarium type stuff, so I was all about it. But yeah, moving on from Epcot, let's hit the one that was my personal favorite and probably always will be for quite a while. Hollywood Studios.
Only because of me, because I made you a Star Wars fan, because you wouldn't have loved that place.
Yeah, well, I'm savoring that for last. So Hollywood Studios, as you can guess, it's very like about the Hollywood vibe and everything.
It used to be.
Somewhat. It's maybe that. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit more now of like the big ticket movie styles and whatnot, but there's a little bit of that old style Hollywood glam and whatnot that they show off, and Hollywood Tower of Terror, still an exceptional ride, tier 1 type of deal. We did that once, and I forgot that it drops you, then raises you, then drops you. It's not just one drop. It's really crazy. If you let go of everything, you feel your butt come off the seat multiple times, which is cool. And we were in the front row, so we're literally looking out over Hollywood Studios from the tower as the doors open up. It's cool.
I got some good footage.
Yeah, so you'll probably, the audience, you'll get to see that sooner or later. But
eventually.
Yeah, so that one, good experience. It's in the ranking. Let's go through some others. Toy Story Land. I didn't get to do Slinky Dog. Jimmy, what would you say about Slinky Dog?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little more intense than you'd think. I don't know. It doesn't cook as fast as Big Thunder, but it's got some drops and some weirdness to it that might make it more intense in certain ways. Katie and I rope dropped it one of the days that we were there doing Rise of the Resistance, and that's kind of the only time I would probably do it. I am also not a huge Toy Story fan, and I also don't like... See, that to me looks more like a basic roller coaster. I know it's not. It has 2 launches in it, but I don't like just seeing a roller coaster. Big Thunder Mountain is a roller coaster, but it's like part of a mountain. It's like a theme. It makes sense. It's like, it seems more natural. This is just like, I get it. Like, we're in Andy's backyard and we're playing with his toys, so that's kind of like the theme, and there's not much more to it than that. There's like a portion at the end where it just kind of goes up and down like that a few times. Like, a kid made it, right? So it's fine. I don't think it's a must ride, but a lot of people think it is. But it's just the new hotness, and we'll see in maybe 10 years.
And here's my take on Toy Story Land. I don't really care. Take it or leave it.
They did the best they could, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure the kids like it a lot. But, the one we did where it's like a game and you're like pulling the string with the
Midway
toy
Mania.
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get to shoot all the things for points and stuff. That's pretty fun. Believe it or not, that one made me slightly sick.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. It spins you around once in a while, the way it takes corners, and then you got 3D glasses and you're looking at these screens and you're shooting all these things. It's cool. It's so interactive. It's a lot of fun, and it's competitive too with you and whoever's in your car. But that was probably the best thing about Toy Story Land to me, and we rope dropped that the last day. It was worthwhile. It was fun. But it doesn't really necessarily make my ranking. Let's go to some others. I already know what my top 2 are, and probably most people's top 2. Were there any others we did at Hollywood Studios?
It's okay. You can just talk about your top 2. If you don't remember them, then clearly they didn't.
What other things did we do? Tower of Terror. We did the Toy Story one. What else Hollywood did we do?
Swirling Saucers.
Yeah.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh, fuck. Oh. Screw, like, shame on me.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite rides of the whole trip.
Oh.
Beats all the roller coasters in Magic Kingdom. I did it twice.
Do you like it better than Everest?
Okay. I don't like it better than Everest or Big Thunder. I do,
What?
but I
You just
don't.
said it beat everything at Magic Kingdom.
Well, and then I thought about one nuance
uh,
that you don't think of immediately, but the fact that it's so short. It's a fast roller coaster. It feels like it's a short ride. Like before you know it, you're back to the station and
well, you're
getting off.
cruising.
You're moving. It's the only roller coaster there that goes upside down.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
It does technically three. There's two inversions and a hairpin or a corkscrew.
Yeah, there's a corkscrew in there, and it's really cool. The launch is one of the coolest
Oh, it's
parts.
the best. Are you kidding me? That's the best part of that whole ride.
Yeah, and we got front of the car, me and you, and then I
Looking
went
down
on
the
with your
barrel.
sister. Haley didn't want to do it because she didn't want to puke. She wasn't feeling great that night, but yeah, I did it twice in a row, and I got the second time I got fast pass boarding without even really swiping the band. The guy's just like, and yeah, it was awesome. You know, the upside down thing, normally that scares you a little more. You're a little more ish about it, but I just love it. That ride is good. Even the queue, when they bring you in the first room before you go in to get in the final queue to board, they do the Aerosmith in the studio and the cast member, hey, how about some backstage passes? And Steven Tyler's like, yeah, I like that idea. Come on, hook him up. And I love it. And the music they're playing in the queue and when you're getting on. The one thing I wish they did more, and I feel like they did it when I was younger, maybe now because I'm taller, I can't hear it as well, but they pump music into the coaster through the seats. You can't really tell what they're playing sometimes. I can't hear it
Really?
very well. I remember it being much louder. Like as you go in that launch and the signs are coming at you, that music, I remember it just blaring like, yeah. Anywho, um, I love it. That's kind of what I want out of a. It's a very traditional roller coaster, but I love that they make it more aggressive and mature, and they add in some of the loops and stuff upside down. It's fast. That sucker's fast. It's fun, but
What does traditional roller coaster mean to you? Because you said it a few times tonight, and I can't
bit,
seem to get a beat on it.
traditional roller coaster, not one like Six Flags where you're hanging from it or any of that weird, crazy,
Oh,
futury stuff. I'm thinking like a car either over the shoulder or lap bar, and no, no, yeah, no weird hanging or weird gizmo that you're
gotcha.
locked into. Um, so it's borderline going beyond the traditional because of the upside down and craziness of it, but it truly is like a roller coaster.
Hmm.
So the only complaint I have about it, and the reason I don't rank it above like uh, some of the others like Big Thunder, Expedition Everest, is because it's so short. I wish
Oh,
it was longer. The only reason I really love it is because I got to do it twice in a row, but it's always been a favorite of mine. I still remember to this day when I went on it when I was like 10. So, um, good ride. So let's get to the meat of it, Jimmy.
we're finally
You
here.
did it. You did it 3 times. I
Yeah.
won't even get to it. So that night after Rock and Roller Coaster is getting a little later. The wait line standby to get on Smuggler's Run to pilot the Millennium Falcon wasn't too bad. So we decided to go wait for that, do our final ride that night.
Hmm.
And the key, let's just say this: Batu, Black Spire Outpost, the Star Wars world that they created there, by far the coolest thing I have ever experienced in this light, like besides getting married. Um, no, it really is. It is the world that they created there makes everything kind of cower in existence. Like this, you walk into this area, it transitions, and you feel like you're on another planet. You feel like you're in the movie. This is a movie set.
Yeah.
It's legit.
Yeah.
Everything is themed. They pump sound through everything. There are random structures, power towers, whatever, making noise. It seems like everything's functioning. It's a functioning city within this park, and um, they created the landscape, the mountainous outcroppings and stuff. You can't see any relation to the outside world except for maybe a Delta airline flying overhead. Funny thing about that is every once in a while they'll pipe in a sound of a TIE fighter flying over or something like that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just so immersive. Literally, there was one day we were waiting for you and Katie to ride Rise of the Resistance because you had been called up, and Haley and I spent like that hour or two just walking through Batu just to experience it and soak it in.
Yeah, I should have done that. Oh well.
And I did that, and I made sure to go back there like 3 more times after that. Just like I could spend my entire day if I'm going to Hollywood Studios. I'd spend almost the whole day just walking through Batu, even if I do nothing. That's how cool I thought it was. Just because of that landscape, the immersive experience, the props. I mean, they got a freaking X-wing sitting there. They got an A-wing sitting there. Yeah. It's just really cool. And then you got the life-size Millennium Falcon sitting there. I mean, so cool.
For Smuggler's Run.
For Smuggler's Run. Yeah, so the queue runs behind all that and everything. And, the queues for the 2 rides in Batu are even more immersive.
Yeah.
You get into those and there's no reference to the outside world, and then you start to feel like you're actually in the movie. I mean, the queue for Smugglers, you get in there and you start to, like, it's just like the Millennium Falcon. Like, you could sit at the table where they have the little game table and that little corner couch thing, and it's interactive. All the cast members really play the part. Like, you got to shut down some alarm over in the corner. He's like, "Oh, hurry! We need to shut that down." And you're like, "Wait! Oh! I got it!" And you ran over there and clicked the button, and the alarm went off. And you turn around, and you're like, "Oof! Whew, thank God!"
We were all gonna die.
Yeah, we were all gonna die for a second. Yeah, so let's get into the ride a little bit. Smuggler's Run, Thursday night, the last thing we did. And you get in there, they give you identification cards. You get 2 pilots, 2 gunners, 2 engineers, so 6 passengers. And they basically, the queue interactive, when it's your turn, they load you in and you get to go into the Millennium Falcon cockpit. And the whole thing, it's kind of like a game. You get to actually pilot it. You actually get to shoot. And you got a light speed drive, hyperdrive, and all that. It's cool. And so 2 pilots, one does up and down in the hyperdrive, the other does left and right. And you have to catch up to this like space train to steal cargo or whatever. And you actually get scored on everything too, which is cool. So we did that. It's very immersive. You're looking out of the cockpit. You feel like you're in control. You're doing everything. And, of course, it's moving. The outside is a screen, but it really doesn't feel like it. It's so well done. You feel like you're out there. You're doing this thing, right? And it's doing all the movements, and you hit stuff, and it feels like you're going to die. And it is really cool. Another one of... It's different than like Flight of Passage because you don't really have any other references. You feel like it's the legit thing. Like, yeah, I was in Star Wars, so Han Solo, nothing on me. Funniest part of this whole experience, Jimmy and I are like, when we get in there, we're gonna do the Han Solo Chewbacca thing, and so we walk in, and Jimmy's like, "Chewie, we're home." And I did the whole, and it was great.
We'll splice it together for the vlog because I watched it today and it looked pretty good. It looked decent. So
nice, yeah. Having just recently watched that movie, I was like, that was the part. That's yeah. Chewie doesn't make the sound though. Han just says, "Chewie, we're home."
In the trailer, he did.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, it was the stinger for the trailer for Force Awakens. They showed that at the end, and people lost their flipping minds. They're like, "Oh my God, it's awesome!" Like,
anywho, it was a good ride. I mean, it's number 2, and everybody's like, "What do you mean number 2? That sounds amazing." Well, you just wait. Yeah. I liked it. I wish we could have done it more, but it always has a bit of a wait. Surprisingly, there were days where it was only like just a little over an hour. I would probably wait that out. I'd do
Sure.
it. Which says something. It's worth that. Because I don't think there were many rides that I said I'd wait over an hour for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, even the food, the dining. We did breakfast there one morning because we rope dropped to do Rise of the Resistance, and we'll get more into why we rope drop and what rope drop really means to do Rise of the Resistance. But we had breakfast at I don't know what that place is called.
We were at the wrong place. That was my fault. We were at Ronto Roasters, but actually we were going over to Docking Bay 7, and Docking Bay 7 is way more chill than Ronto Roasters, so I was happy to get over there, get a little Mustafar cinnamon roll and stuff. But
you were sitting on canisters, like shipping canisters, and everything is themed the way you would, like you're in Star Wars at some canteen to eat. You know? And the food is all themed for it, named after it. Mufu juice we had these cinnamon rolls that were like colorful and different.
They're from Mustafar, where Anakin got messed up.
Yeah, well, they were great. And yeah, so even the food there is good. They had shops in like a shopping corridor, but you feel like you're in a planet, like it was like a market, like a street market with like vendors and stuff. It was really cool, immersive still. Mm-hmm. And then so after breakfast we got called up because we had rope dropped to do Rise of the Resistance. Rise of the Resistance people get there at 5 a.m. and they wait to get into the park because you have to be in the park, checked in at the gate. You have to swipe your magic band at the gate to get in. That's how they know that you're at the park. Then you have to book or use the app to join a boarding group at exactly 7 a.m. when they open boarding or bookings for the Rise of the Resistance ride, because it's not a standby line. There's no fast pass. You have to do it this way. So it's very exclusive right now because it's so new. Jimmy, you did it 3 times in a row.
Yep.
A soldier at his best. You and Katie getting up at 5 and 6 a.m. and getting there very early. Had to take an Uber to get there at any sort of timeliness. And so based on what you and Katie were saying, I'm like, I cannot leave here without doing it. So on Friday, the last day, we all got up at like 4:30, took an Uber there, got there at like 5:10, waited in a crowd of about 1,000 or more at the main gate at the wee hours of the morning when it's still dark to get in. We got in and we're waiting at Toy Story Land because we were going to rope drop a different ride while we were booking the passes. And sure enough, we keep refreshing, and 6:58. Oh my God, the button's appearing. And Haley's like, boom, 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 boom. There's a freaking hundreds of people behind us in line for Toy Story. And Haley immediately got boarding group 1 through 10.
Yeah, we got 10, which is crazy.
Yeah, we got 10. So it's like, which is like unreal because there are like thousands of people trying to do this. Yeah. And so like, what are the odds? And everybody's doing it. You see everybody with their phones out and they're waiting to release us to go to the rides. And the cast members are laughing because the entire crowd just starts lighting up like, yeah, and everybody's clapping because a lot of them got the passes, right? And yeah, so we went and did Rise of the Resistance that morning. And I don't even know how to really describe this well. I'm sure you're going to do a separate review on it, like you said, and it's very deserved of that review. So with the passes, you're able to get into the ride, and there's not a long queue. You don't have to wait very long because it is so exclusive, and they staggered it out like that with the boarding pass style. So you get to walk through the queue and really enjoy it. And it's somewhat, again, so immersive, no reference to the outside world. You're in the freaking movie. And this one even more so than anything. Part of the queue is a ride in itself where they split you into a largish group and they make you walk past a really cool X-Wing, by the way. All the cast members are playing a part. They're all Resistance members and they're acting the whole time. they load you onto this passenger transport, and a guy like Admiral Akbar or that species is flying this thing. And there's like a bubble window at either end, and they project like that you left Batu. Like you can actually see Batu in the screen behind you as you're flying away, and this thing is moving and stuff, and you're standing holding onto a rail like a bus or a train, and you're watching as you're flying away. Next thing you know, you're in space and they're projecting still, and then you're in some sort of battle scuffle. You've been discovered by the First Order. And
spoilers for Rise of the Resistance, by the way.
Oh my god! Yeah. Like
you don't have to go beat by beat on this because this is like a 20-minute experience.
Yeah, this is actually. I mean, it's a long experience, which makes it all that much better. Like it was worth your time. But yeah, spoiler alert. I just want to talk about it because you gotta. For those who may not go to Disney World anytime soon, or maybe even ever. We'll give the description of it and kind of walk through the experience, and maybe it'll amp you up enough to be willing to make up your own trip and go and check this out, especially if you're a big fan of Star Wars. It won't spoil it too much because talking about it doesn't do it justice.
But it will spoil it if you say the exact things that happen.
True, but don't if you haven't and you're like, well, it can't be that bad, and you're gonna listen to it, great. Don't go watch the YouTube videos of it. Some people just vlog the whole thing. Don't go do that. That'll really ruin it for you. So skip ahead if you don't want to listen. But anywho, you get in a scuffle. First Order captures your transport. You land, and next thing you know, the doors open and a First Order officer steps in and starts yelling at you. You've been captured. You must disembark immediately. And very authoritative type of deal. It's very militaristic. And it's intense. I was standing by the door, and I see you look at me. You're like, go. And I turn, I'm like, oh, okay. And the second I turn and I look out the door past the officer, actor, cast member, you are in a hangar on a Star Destroyer. And there is, first of all, on the other end, they're projecting a screen of space with other ships and stuff flying around. But in this hangar, which feels like accurate scale, and this is still part of the queue, mind you. They're like, at that time, in that moment, in my mind, it was like 100 stormtroopers standing in formation, staring me down. I'm like, what the? My jaw hit the floor. I had to drag my jaw off the passenger transport, but I walked out there and I was just like blown away.
Yeah.
Like that is an impactful moment, and this is only the queue. And I wish I would have spent more time there because apparently you can, from what I've seen. And I would have got like photos in front of the troop of stormtroopers, but and a couple of them move because they're animatronic, but they're all just standing in formation. It's very intimidating. It for sure gives off the effect that you want. And so still part of the queue. They guide you in. They're kind of yelling at you like, get in line. You're coming this way. You're going to be interrogated by Kylo Ren. And so then they take you in and they take you through an airlock door and stuff. And they're assigning you to like seating arrangements type of a thing. But it's all kind of in the vein of we're breaking you into groups. You're all going into prison cells to be interrogated, yada, yada. Okay, so the guys are walking around, these officers, and they're kind of like being snarky with you and like, you know, leaning on the wall. What do you own the wall? They're very orderly and they play the part well. So then they load in groups of 16 into these prison cells. And they use a lot of practical effects, but they also use screens. But I don't feel like it was bad. Like they use them well, and they're very well done for being screens. They feel very legitimate. And Kylo Ren walks up with an officer and stuff, and he starts to yell at you, but then he gets called away and said, "Keep them here. I'll be back to handle this myself," kind of a thing. And next thing you know, you're in this cell, and somebody starts torching out a hole in the wall, and this door folds away, and the resistance breaks you out, and you load into your cars, And the trippiest part about this is that these cars are autonomous. There's no track. No track at all. And apparently there are like 2 to 3 different experiences throughout this ride, depending on the path your car takes. You got to experience one of the better ones. We got to experience a good one, but I'd like to ride it again to get the others. But I guess I won't go into too much detail. It's kind of on the premise of this thing's carrying you around. There's an elevator too with like a little bit of a drop. There's a spaceship moment where it loads you into one, it flies you around, but that's towards the end. It's all on the premise of Kylo Ren's chasing you around the ship to capture you and interrogate you, and you're trying to escape on this Resistance shuttle, and you're just traveling this path around the Star Destroyer, and it's very believable and immersive, and it's intense. It's really cool. The sound, the animatronics, as well as the screens. And then some of the practical effects that are related to the screens, like blasters. You know, like that was really neat. But in Kylo Ren, they really use him well. They make him cool. They really do. They make him really cool, intimidating. It's intense. There are a couple moments there where they show him off, especially the one where I'm just like, shit, like, and he's coming, like I'm gonna get my head lopped off. There was one moment with the lightsaber where they do an effect where he's chasing you, and you don't see him. I don't want to give too much away, but that lightsaber moment. For a split second, you're like, how are they doing that? And then you start to realize, but that's really cool and intense and just feeds into that chase factor, cat and mouse kind of a thing. And then you get some more practical effects, and eventually you escape and whatnot. Spoiler alert, you don't die there. But even the end sequence, that's kind of the shuttle moment. It's crazy how they do it, but it is absolutely amazing. It is awesome.
We like got to that point and you're like, we're in an elevator, and I'm like, shut up. Like,
did I say that?
Yeah, you did. And then I got it on I actually have it. It's funny because we have it in the recording, and Katie looks over at us and you're looking at me, and I just look at you and I do this, and it just like does something, and you're like, whoa, like that. It's really great. There's a lot of good moments of you and Haley. Like Haley tries to look at the camera and look cute, and then like something happens, she's like, like that. So it's a really good. Katie did a good job.
It is a movie in its own right, and you're in it. It really is. God, and I would probably wait 3 hours for it.
It's not. You know what's funny? I was thinking about it. It's not the most. It has thrills in it, but it's not. I think like Everest, Flight of Passage.
It's not a roller coaster.
Well, it's not even that. But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't. It has a few moments that are thrilling, but it's more of like it's a story. It's like the greatest dark ride ever. Like, it's like the craziest. Like, think of Winnie the Pooh as a dark ride, but like think of like if they cranked that to like 1 million. Yeah. And it's not like there's drops and like twists and turns all the time. Like, your little vehicle moves around, but I remember telling you this, Joe. Like, I wished it kind of had a little more jostle to it, but I think it's very purposeful.
Like Dinosaur.
Yeah, I like the jostle on Dinosaur. I mean, like I got the timer right over here, but like don't worry if you're like weird about like motion sickness and stuff. This is for everybody, more or less. I'd say.
Exactly. Like, you only have a seatbelt. You're not going to get thrown out of this thing. But the elevator stuff really impressed me.
Yeah, it's quick too. You don't know it. Like, especially the first one when they get you and you're like, whoa, like that. The first time that hit me, oh man, I was like.
And it actually isn't. It's intense, but it's short. It's not Tower of Terror, but it's that same feeling.
Yeah, it's about 17 feet.
Yeah,
it's quick.
But the autonomous vehicle and stuff, that's really impressive. The experience alone.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's more of a movie story experience that I'm sure once you do it 5 or 6 times, you're like, okay, I don't need to wait that long again for it. But
like Flight of Passage, you don't want to necessarily you wouldn't want to wait for those like movies, again and again. You'd be like, all right,
Yeah, this is just such a twisty, turny, just.
Could you imagine doing this by yourself? Or like with a group of 2 or 3 people, like walking in, especially that hangar for the Star Destroyer, and they're like, "Take all the time you want" or whatever. I'd be like, like, I'd be like,
check back in an hour.
yeah,
I'd be standing in formation next to a
yeah,
stormtrooper. Like,
they'll never find me now.
I'll be here all day.
Yeah.
That was my favorite moment of the ride, by the way. I'll never forget that, stepping out of that ship and seeing that.
Yeah.
That was probably, it was just, that sets the tone for the experience. It is impactful. It's intimidating, believe it or not, and just a moment I want to remember forever. And Haley got a perfect photo of it. It's going to be like my wallpaper on my computer, probably my Facebook screen. I just love it. And let me touch on one last thing about Batuu and the whole Star Wars deal. Oh, by the way, we did Star Tours. That's a good ride. Good ride. Makes you a little sick for some reason, but fun.
Yeah.
There's one experience that's really good that involves Kylo Ren. There's another one that involves some sort of droid, which sucked. That was the one we got.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still good. It's good fun. Just try and control yourself and don't puke on the next person. I think that one's worse than Flight of Passage.
Oh, no way.
For me,
no.
I don't know why that one makes me want to puke more. It's more aggressive the way, like, because you're in a ship and you're banging against things, and it's little more herky-jerky. But yeah, so that was another ride, but it ain't good. I think it makes the ranking. But last thing I want to touch on with the Star Wars theming, and specifically Batuu Black Spire Outpost, we didn't even get to do like the lightsaber thing, mainly because we weren't going to pay for it. We went into the droid shop, but obviously we weren't buying a droid, so we didn't do that because those are like $150. They're cool in their own right, but I mean, I don't really need one. It's just neat, that experience, but not worth it to me. Maybe one day if I have a man cave. Lightsaber thing, the same thing. It's like $250 to build your own lightsaber. I've seen the videos. It looks like an awesome experience, and I think one day if I do have that man cave, I would kind of like to do it.
Yeah.
To have like a really cool, like, made your own but accurate and hefty lightsaber to display. Because after seeing them that night, we did the Millennium Falcon ride that Thursday night. You know, kids walking around with them, and they're lit up in the dark, and they're taking photos in front of the Millennium Falcon. They have a look about them, like they're better than the ones that the actors are walking around with. And so that segues me into the last thing I want to talk about, the actors. Those cast members that are playing these characters, they have Kylo Ren and a couple stormtroopers almost at all times, but Kylo Ren every now and again. And they come out of the First Order ship that they have on a stage, and they do this little skit, and they kind of act it out, and they talk, we're looking for a resistance spy among you, and this and that. And of course, it's all the Kylo Ren and stormtrooper voices. And so that kind of sets off a thing where they start walking around in the crowd down the streets of Batuu looking for a resistance member type of thing, and they'll interrogate people and stuff. And beyond that, they have Chewbacca walking around. They also have Rey, and apparently, you know, they kind of make it like Kylo's looking for Rey now and again, and they try and avoid each other, kind of a thing. And sometimes they'll do an act out where they fight each other. Didn't get to see that. I only saw Rey once, I think. And what's amazing is how much she looked like Daisy Ridley from the movie.
Oh,
like,
really?
she looked the part, and they play their characters so well. They are in character. They don't break it. They're committed. It is a serious thing. And we have photos, like Haley almost got hit, like Kylo Ren almost ran into her lens when she was taking photos because she was like just like in their face with it. And it's so cool. Like, it's no Halloween parade. It's not a Halloween costume. This is like true movie prop. They look the part. They could be, I mean, for all I know, it could be freaking Adam Driver under that freaking helmet, you know? I still can't figure out, when we were talking about how they do the voice lines, it sounds like they're all preset things on a voice modulator that just get spoken. on a pre-recording, but I don't know how they control it or do it. And it often, sometimes it's a little off from what they should be reacting or saying to like people, but it fits most of the time, which is really cool. Um, you got to meet Darth Vader
I did.
on a separate thing. They don't have him walking around because it doesn't fit the timeline. They also have the Star Wars pageant, which is outside of it too, which I thought was really cool. Haley and I got to see that, and it's just impressive. You know, it's so accurate and movie accurate. And it was like a tribute to Star Wars through the years, and they come out and do their little act, and that's it. But it really topped the experience off for me. I even look at videos now on YouTube of them walking around like, oh, Kylo Ren makes a baby cry or whatever, and it's just so. Like, I would like to do that job for a while just because it looks fun.
It does look fun.
Be that character for a while, and they play it so well. The shops and stuff are cool. The merchandise they have is cool at Batu. Besides the lightsabers and droids, it goes beyond that. One day when I make it big, I'm going to go back. I'm going to buy the Death Trooper helmets and the blasters. I'm also going to buy the full set of Stormtrooper armor that... Take a guess at how much that cost. It was $6,607.99, and I'm going to buy it one day.
Oh, cool.
Would I fit in it? Probably not, but it would go on display. It's pretty cool. Ultimately, here's the deal. Jimmy, we've been doing this podcast series on the Star Wars series, all the movies, and we started in the timeline order of when they were made, so not the timeline of the story, which is probably proper, but and we've been ranking them and discussing them, I think with an end goal of trying to convert me and see what I think. I was warming up to it just by watching the movies, but when I went down there, I experienced that land, those characters, those rides. I came back a full-fledged Star Wars fan.
I've done it.
Like, as of right now, I'm almost like it's almost my Lord of the Rings. Not that much. Like, Lord of the Rings is still on a pedestal, but
sure. It's different.
The fact that it's more current and it's still kind of happening. I've gone and I've caught up on all the movies like immediately. That night I got home, that Saturday night, I was exhausted, but I'm like, all right, let's start. I watched Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith. And then I got into the Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
You meant Attack of the Clones, right?
Attack of the Clones, yeah.
I was like, you watched the entire... I was like, did you watch friggin' Clone Wars without telling me? I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. So I did it. I finally did it. The thing they said was impossible. Yeah. But I did it.
And let me tell you, I like those prequel movies. I think they're pretty good. I understand why some people complain about certain things. We'll talk about them in our other podcasts. I really like Daisy Ridley. I love Adam Driver. I think Adam Driver is a freaking gift to this earth. I just do. I like him as a person, as an actor. I think he plays a great Kylo Ren. I'm sure there are little things to complain about with him, but it's not his fault. It's just the writing and what they make his character do. But I am officially a Kylo Ren fan. I really think Kylo Ren is a character in the story. Let's just say this: aesthetically, 110%. I love him.
Yeah.
Especially in Force Awakens, he changes his outfit a little bit towards the later in Last Jedi, but I think he's got that perfect. I hate when he loses the helmet, but I get it. But that look that he has when it's complete, and the voice, that voice will forever, like, it is second only to Darth Vader. And we all know why. But they did a good job of creating another a villain of the story kind of a thing, to most eyes. They did a good job. They created another person to fill that void post Darth Vader. I like him. So, yeah, call me a Star Wars fan now. I'm there.
We did it.
It's done. And I would take a long weekend trip just to go back to Batu.
Well, that can be arranged. I mean, long weekend for you, maybe. Week and a half for me.
Yeah,
I didn't get enough
we'll
time.
fly down together, but we'll fly back separately. How about that?
I don't know. Maybe we fly back together. I don't know. It'd be nice to.
Oh, so I meet you down there. Huh?
Yeah, you can meet me in a slightly weakened state, and then you'll be like, oh, he's not as gung ho as he was before. And I'll be like, I've been here for about a week, and I've been doing rope drops and staying till the park shuts down. And they're like, sir, you have to leave. And I'm like, I'm just gonna get in this trash can. I'm just gonna sleep in the trash can. And they're like, sir, you have to go. I'll be like, the pirates' boats. I'll just sleep on a pirate boat. It's fine. Just let me sleep. It's so comfortable.
But so anywho. Jimmy, I don't know if you want to weigh in on it at all for the sake of this podcast episode, but in conclusion to the whole trip, first of all, thank you very much. You worked very hard on setting this up for us, and we kind of I wouldn't say we were lazy with it, but we kind of trusted you to arrange it because you had all that experience, and it turned out to be the right call. And Haley and I talk about it still. I mean, the fact that we got our money's worth because we didn't stop, and you planned properly to make it worth our money, worth our time. We got to see all the important things, and then we didn't die. And
I left you wanting more.
And left us wanting more. So thank you very much to you. All your great planning made this experience kind of one of, between Haley and I, one of our best trips together, probably one of the best trip together in a long time or ever.
Yes.
And that's even comparing to our honeymoon, so that's saying a lot. Holy shit.
Well, you said you even,
we rushed our honeymoon trip. Anywho.
It was different. It was Colorado. It's not...
It was different, and this was fun to experience with friends. I think that really puts the cherry on top of the sundae, but so thank you very much, and that experience with you and your sister, we loved it. And my last line regarding my Disney trip is that the Star Wars, man.
Here I was hoping I was gonna be like, you're welcome, and I thought you were gonna say like, the next trip's on me, and I was gonna go like like I'm just without face.
Let's not get crazy. I can't afford all the Wagyu beef you'd want to eat. But
we don't have to even do well. I mean, I'd have to go see everybody over at Takuite. I'm just glad you had a good time, and that's always my goal with the trips. Is like make sure people have fun. You're going to be tired. You're going to get your money's worth, but I also don't want it to be like, man, that was such a slog, or like, I want there to be that kind of like, oh, I wish we could have done this again, but we did everything at least once. So you're like, okay, if we went back, hypothetically, we could go do this more, or we emphasize this instead, or like do Magic Kingdom after hours instead,
Yeah, which would be a good call. And I think what really helped us too is that the weather was nice. Or I wouldn't say nice. It was a little chilly.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could walk around in a hoodie and jeans and sneakers and be comfortable all day long, that says a lot, because, I mean, it sure as hell beats standing in long lines or in the sun and 100% humidity and 100 degrees to match with shoulder to shoulder to a bunch of sweaty people.
Yep. Nope. Disgusting. Yeah.
So that helped keep us fresh and energized and helped us keep going and not be so tired.
Yeah. But basically next time what you're saying is you'll spring for the Polynesian for us. The Poly, baby. Just $4,000 the trip immediately spent right there on the good old the Polynesian. As far as resorts go, we looked at a lot of them. The Polynesian is by far one of the most appealing ones. I love, like, if you can afford to do it, or like if you really want to splurge for, say, your honeymoon, maybe stay in a room there a couple nights, but then for the other nights, stay in one of their bungalows over that lake. That would be cool. I'm afraid that if I stayed there on my honeymoon, it would end in a quick divorce, because like I think I'd have to bring like that person with me to Disney a few times before to see if she's really ready for the life she's opted in for, because I'd hate her to be like, it's been so sweet, you've been so great, and I'd be like, you gotta get up, it's 6 a.m. She'd be like, it's our honeymoon. I'd be like, that's right, we gotta get out the door, we got rope dropping to do. She'd be like, What have I gotten myself in? I'd be like, you better get out there.
But honey, come back to bed.
Get out. I'd be like, this is more important. She's
yeah,
like,
I don't know, Jimmy. If it was a honeymoon and you found the right lady, you might consider missing a rope drop.
I'm not going to Disney World for my honeymoon. That is a waste because I would feel like I'd be like, I love you, and it'd be really great to like just hang out all day and like snuggle and stuff. But there's a lot of rides, and let's just go do that, please. Like I need to go somewhere tropical where I can't. It needs to be like an all-inclusive resort.
That's
where there's
actually
nothing to do.
A word to the
Take me
wise.
away.
That's actually a really good tip. Never take a honeymoon to Disney.
I know people who have, and actually some of our Legionnaires did that, and the reason that they got away with it, and I'm not going to say get away with it, but maybe Peyton in case they're listening, they went to Disneyland, but what they did is they went and they said, you know what, we're going to go there, their family helped them out with this, but they were like, we're going to buy and do whatever we want. Whatever it is. You see something, you want to eat it, buy it. You see a souvenir, buy it. Like it was one of those like, don't care trips.
Sure,
which
sure.
I think that can work out.
And their
too.
goal wasn't to do the snuggle in the hotel room all day long, right?
Exactly.
They wanted to actually do the Disney thing.
But then, by the way, if you did do that, especially like the Polynesian, you would actually get your money's worth for staying there for like $400 to $600 or however many dollars a night. Like
so don't buy park tickets for half the time you're there. Then switch hotels halfway through and then do the park stuff.
just downgrade to like Pop Century, and I'm like, all right, now it's time to get up. I know the refurbed rooms are nice, but we gotta go. The Skyliner's cooking. I'm glad you had a good time though, and I think not only it's the people. I always say this: it's the people that make the trip, and you guys, and then especially Katie. Like having Katie down there, and I haven't been down there with her since 2013. That was really fun for me because she's still a kid at heart. She did a really good job, and she was like the one pushing to get up for Rise of the Resistance. Those 3 specific mornings, she's like, "Yeah, we're getting up," and I'm like, all right. So, she was, and she's used to being up at weird times because of her son right now. So it was a nice little vacation for her too, in a different way. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. And I hope one day we can go back together again because it was easily one of my favorite trips down there. I don't know. It's hard. Every trip is different.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, it was.
Well, here's one of the things. I got to take a trip and go somewhere that's very special to my best friend.
Yeah.
And experience that with him, and because of that, it made it something that's special to me now. Will I go back? You're darn right I will. Will I go back when I have kids? Yeah, when they're old enough to remember it and appreciate it. But it's not something I have to do every year, but it's something that I know I'll want to get back to and enjoy multiple times throughout the rest of my life,
Sure. Well, obviously depends too if like what you said, having kids and stuff, like because I could see it where if I went next year and you didn't go, and I like was sending all these like pictures back to you and like films, you'd be like I don't know if you'd want to go like in 6 months or something, but like watching all this stuff and Batu's calling to me, the Force and all that, buddy. I'd be like, yeah, we go do Universal Day, like you go see Hogwarts and stuff. You can kind of compare it. It'd be fun. Yeah, I want to do Hagrid's. Cool too. Yeah,
maybe potentially we'll just do a boys trip sometime, because
I'm fine with that. I just love going back. I want to give Universal's more of a shot. I've done it a little bit, but I want to give it. I want to do the Mummy and stuff. I didn't do the Mummy,
so there's some things worth seeing there that it would be good to maybe shed one day from Disney and experience all of what Universal has to offer. That would be cool.
Yeah, if you're fast about it. Except I don't think I'll ever pay for their like Express Pass. It's like $75 a day. I might be way off on that. I don't know how their Fast Pass thing works. I was like, it gets a little crazy. But but that's Disney. And like Joe and I kind of talked about earlier, we do have videos and vlogs that will come out as quickly as I can edit them. Katie really wanted to sit down and edit them too, so we were
a lot of stills, some of them. A lot of good photos.
So yeah, lots of pictures, and from the stuff I have, not including Katie's cell phone, footage, I have 3.5 hours of footage. So I was like,
there's a lot of moments of us talking and conversing about the rides we were just on, and it's very in the moment stuff, which will be good. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how people want me to divide this up. If they want me to do it like a day at a time, or if they want me to be like 10. I don't think I could do 10 minute because that'd be a It'd be a lot of videos.
They'll probably be semi-long.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know what? If you like vlogs, I love a longer vlog, and I don't vlog every day. Some people do. Kudos to the Tim Tracker. That guy's got like 750,000 subs now. Guy does a home vlog and he gets 90,000 views. I mean, kudos to that guy. I was looking for him in the parks. I was like, Tim, where are you? I didn't see him.
Maybe break it up in like 30-minute chunks or something. Maybe separate it per park or something like that if it's possible. I know there's a lot, but
we'll see. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm thinking.
Either way, good content coming up.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all free for you. So if you guys ever want to write into the show, because Joe's talking about this too, we're doing more Star Wars stuff, kind of covering the movies going forward. But
which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, he's got a lot of opinions. I'm excited to hear them. But next.
And by the way, I'm sorry. You know how upset I am. I was checking today. I was like, I wonder if they're showing the
Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker still, and sure enough, they were. Tonight's the last night in every theater around me.
Oh, really?
So this weekend it goes out, so it's not showing tomorrow.
Don't they have like little theaters around you, like little ones that might?
They do. They're still showing them, but if you think about it, it's been a month and like a week. So this week is when they drop it out and something replaces it. I'm really upset about it. Now I have to wait.
Maybe.
I'm pissed.
I'm sorry.
I'm pissed.
Well, you know what? Maybe.
I'll look tomorrow. Maybe
hey, if you're coming into town, maybe next week. There's always movie theaters playing movies around here, so.
Perhaps.
I'm just saying.
Perhaps.
I'm just saying. I'd like to see it again. It's an interesting film.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. But next is Attack of the Clones, which we'll be doing next week, and then we'll be doing Revenge of the Sith after that, and then we might do the Critties after that, just for people who are listening in. They're like, where are the Critties? Don't worry, they're coming. We just had a trip, and Star Wars is kind of taking over, which is totally fine, because
and then,
you know?
Yeah, and then after Critties, maybe we'll take a moment to talk, maybe not as lengthy as the other original stuff. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a featurette in one of the podcasts for Rise, or the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yeah, we are doing that. No, we're doing a full podcast on those. Yeah, for sure.
All right, good.
Yeah,
I was hoping you'd say
I know
something.
he's gonna be like, well, Adam Driver. Here are the reasons why he's the best.
Because I'll probably watch him again.
That's fine. No, it's good. But if anyone has like not necessarily topics for now, or other movies or things we could kind of converse about in the months to come, please tweet at us or send us an email. We are on Twitter, so you can find us. I'm at GoCritical or at JimmyGood013. Just hashtag Critical Podcast. But Joe, if they want to find you or tweet a Star Wars GIF or meme at you, where would they tweet?
Oh, by all means, hit me up at lever_627. That's lever just like beaver, only with an L. And I would love a tweet if you're a faithful listener and you're aware of my history. Send me a tweet and bash me a little bit on how I used to not really care about Star Wars and never really say good things about it. Now here I am, like I wouldn't call me a mega fan, but I'm a fan. I'd like to see one of those. Ryan, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, that's Ryan. With the hashtag Kylo Ren, just because I like to do this.
Yeah, here.
I feel vindicated. Not only did I get him to become a Star Wars fan, I got him to go to Disney World. I feel like there's nothing I can't do. And you know what's going to be next? I'm just going to be in Star Wars. I'm going to go be in Star Wars. It's going to be great. I can't wait to do it, because after I was on Batuu, I'm like, I think I could do this. I even repaired the Millennium Falcon at one point when it was about to explode and kill so many people.
On instinct.
On
instinct. There were no directions.
No.
The guy didn't say what to do. He just said, there's an alarm, quick, we got to... And Jimmy runs to that thing.
Yep.
Saves our lives.
And I did not watch anything previously about that, so I didn't know. It was just, it felt I was guided by the Force, mostly the dark side of the Force, which I think most people don't know the power of the dark side, and I would love to show them. I'd love to be on Rise of the Resistance with a red lightsaber, like, woo!
I'm just saying I would make a really good Kylo Ren, maybe a little buffer, a little taller, but I would make a good one.
I think you'd make a good Vader, because you got the size.
That's probably more accurate,
right?
But
I'd make a great General Hux. Give me a red wig. I don't know if I'd be, or a good stormtrooper. I'd have a lot of fun as a stormtrooper. I'd be like a lot of,
he has his moments, but I'm sorry. I would feel I'd be impressed, but I'd be like, oh, Jimmy.
No, I mean I'd want to be Vader because Vader's the greatest, and I love him. So I like Kylo. Don't get me wrong.
Why is Vader force choking so much more often now?
Yeah, exactly.
He's just ad-libbing. He's adding that in. I don't know why. We didn't tell him to do that.
Just shows me walking up to like a baby in a stroller. I'm just like trying to choke him. They're like, what is he doing? Like, you're like, you gotta tone it down. And I'd be like, no, like, get away from me. Yeah, meeting Vader was cool. Katie really wanted to do that, and he's still very intimidating, much more than Kylo Ren was for me, because Kylo's not as tall. But Vader was basically interrogating us. It was great, but we had our hoods on. It was fun. I was like, I'm ready to join. I'm like Vader, let's take over, you and me together, buddy.
Teach me the ways.
Teach me the ways. Let's take on Sidious together. Yeah, oh, so good. But anyway, thank you to everybody who listens. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon, or you can subscribe here to tell a friend. That's great, too. We just kind of retooled the Patreon recently, so just kind of slimmed it down, made it a little more slimmer and trimmer here in 2020. But thank you for everybody who's supporting us and still listening and all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You're the best. Joe, anything left you want to say before we go?
I want to say this is a damn blast.
Good.
This is a fun one. It was a long one, but a fun one.
Yeah.
And I hope the listeners enjoy, and thank you for listening. Hopefully you get to take a Disney trip of your own very soon.
Yeah, and also, Joe brings up a good point there, too. If you guys are taking one or planning one or are even thinking about one, please don't hesitate to message or text us or go on our Discord and stuff. I am happy to help people. I love to help people with this sort of thing.
And it's useful help. I think I vouched for him enough on his experience and prowess as far as getting the experience and getting her done. So
that's right, ladies, and he's single too. I'm just kidding. No, my mom wants me to throw that into every podcast now. She's like, just tell him. But just so people know. But I will do it completely for free. One of my dream jobs for a while was like to be quietly hired to just be like a secret tour guide through Disney, because like Disney doesn't like you doing that if you're not an official one. I think an official one would be a lot of fun too. We saw a lot of that down there where you could hire these people for the whole day for thousands of dollars, and they kind of would walk you through the parks, point out things, take you backstage so you could get in and out of parks really quickly and get you to the front of the line on rides. So depending if that's your sort of jam, I would love to do that. I think that'd be a heck of a good thing. But
keep in mind, thousands of dollars for them. Jimmy is a little cheaper.
Yeah, I'm a way bit cheaper, and I don't think the cast members get that money, which would be amazing if they're like, yeah, I did like 5 or 6 tours last month, and I'm pretty good for a bit. You're like,
right?
You're like, what? That's incredible.
Oh, funny thing. Hopefully, people are still listening. But when we were there, and not that anybody really cares about them, but for those who do, apparently what are their names? The Kardashians were there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably that's why the crowd's bolstered at the last day. It wasn't the Pro Bowl. They were like, oh, the Kardashians are there? You got to meet them. Yeah, what was it? It was Kim, or not Kim, but Courtney and what's the other? Kendall.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
It was a big deal, man.
I was there. I'm a big deal. One day
people in lines.
This them.
Yeah, no, we were in line and people behind us are talking about it. Oh my god, people. Shame on me for even mentioning it. It's kind of interesting though. Even the starlets like their trip to Disney.
Yeah, everybody loves it. It's the great unifier. We can all. They're probably they might have. I wonder if they got the special VIP tours. I wonder. You'd think they would. They probably could afford it, but then again.
Yeah, to avoid people a little more and stuff, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like they couldn't afford it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Joe, thank you for coming on the trip with me, and thanks to Haley and to Katie, and I hope you guys enjoy the vlogs that are coming up. It'll take a while to get them done because between that, the movie commentaries, the Game of the Year video, the critties, and all that stuff, there's so much to do. Yeah.
Keep an eye on the social media though, photos and stuff.
Yeah, they're popping up, and Katie did a bunch of stuff on Instagram, so
already
go check that stuff out. And she'll probably try to post some of that on the actual. We're at Go Critical on Instagram, so go find us over there. Which I'm finding, to be honest, I've been trying to tune in more to Instagram. I find that to be much more enlightening, more fun. like Twitter.
Then
Sometimes
Twitter.
you scroll through that home feed and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Agreed.
So Instagram, that's where I'm trying to kick it over there. So,
Focus efforts.
Yeah, focus efforts. Anyway, speaking of focusing efforts, we're going to focus efforts on finishing up the show. Thank you so much for dropping by, and until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome.
And may the force be with you.
Always. Got him. Good job. All right.